Your dreams feel so real, don't they? Have you ever woken up from a dream and for a few seconds, you weren't sure if it actually happened? Maybe you dreamt you were late for school, or you won a big award, or you were talking to someone who isn't around anymore. And for a moment, it felt totally real. Your heart was pounding, or you felt happy, or even a little sad. Then, slowly, the real world came back into focus, and you realized it was just a dream. But that feeling, that brief moment where the dream felt as solid as anything, sticks with you. This experience, where our sleeping minds create worlds that feel so incredibly true, is one of the oldest mysteries humans have wondered about. For thousands of years, people have looked at dreams and asked, what are they? Are they messages from a different place? Are they warnings? Are they just random thoughts? Long, long ago, in ancient Greece, thinkers like Plato wondered if our everyday life might be a bit like a dream. He used a famous story about people stuck in a cave, only seeing shadows on a wall. They thought the shadows were real, but they were just reflections of things happening outside. What if, Plato wondered, our whole world is just shadows of a deeper truth? It's a big idea, but it shows how people have always been curious about how real our experiences truly are. Later, in the 1600s, a thinker named René Descartes explored this even more. He asked a simple but powerful question. How do I know I'm not dreaming right now? Think about it. In a dream, you can see, hear, feel, maybe even taste things. You can interact with people and places. You might even feel pain or joy. All your senses seem to work just like they do when you're awake. So, if a dream can be that convincing, what's to say that what you're experiencing right now isn't also a really, really vivid dream? It's hard to tell the difference, isn't it, until you wake up? Our brains are amazing. When we dream, our brain isn't just randomly firing off signals. It's actually putting together a whole story. It uses memories from our day, things we've thought about, worries we have, even things we've seen or read. It mixes them all up and creates a new reality for us. Your dream brain can make up faces you've never seen before, places you've never visited, and situations that defy all logic. Yet, inside the dream, it all makes perfect sense. You don't usually question why you're suddenly flying, or why your pet is talking, until you wake up. Think about a time you had a nightmare that felt truly terrifying. Maybe you were being chased, or you were lost, or you couldn't move. You might have woken up with your heart racing, sweating, feeling genuinely scared, even though you were safe in your bed. Or perhaps you had a wonderful dream where you reunited with a loved one, or achieved something incredible, and you woke up feeling happy and wishing it hadn't ended. The emotions and physical reactions in these dreams are real. Even if the events aren't, your brain believes it's happening and your body reacts. This connection between our minds and what we perceive as real is fascinating. It suggests that reality might not be as fixed as we think. Our brain is constantly interpreting signals from the world around us. It takes in light, sound, touch, and builds a picture. But dreams show us that our brain can also create that picture entirely from scratch, without any outside signals. It can make a world that feels just as solid, just as believable, as the one we're in right now. So, when you think about your dreams feeling so real, it's not just a cool trick your brain plays. It's a gentle reminder that our personal reality is shaped by our minds. It tells us that what we feel, what we see, what we believe, can be deeply influenced by our own inner workings. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, if the line between what's truly real and what our minds just think is real might be a little blurrier than we imagine when we're wide awake. It's a thought to carry with you, a quiet question about the nature of everything we experience. What if life is just a big dream? Have you ever woken up from a dream, and for a few seconds, you weren't quite sure if what just happened was real or not? Maybe you were flying, or talking to a talking animal, and it felt so incredibly real. Then, slowly, you realized it was just a dream, and you were back in your bed. But what if that feeling, that tiny moment of doubt, never quite goes away? What if our whole life, everything we see, hear, touch, and feel, is actually just one huge, long, never-ending dream. This idea isn't new at all. People have wondered about this for thousands of years. Imagine thinkers from a long, long time ago, like a famous Greek philosopher named Plato. He had ideas that touched on this. He talked about people living in a cave, only ever seeing shadows on a wall. These people thought the shadows were the real world, because they'd never seen anything else. They didn't know there was a whole bright world outside, full of real things causing those shadows. In a way, Plato was suggesting that what we think is real might just be a dim reflection of something bigger, or maybe even just an illusion. Later, hundreds of years ago, another famous thinker named René Descartes really pushed this question. He asked himself, "How do I know I'm not dreaming right now?" He pointed out that when we dream, things can feel shockingly real. We can feel pain, joy, fear, and excitement, just like in waking life. Our dreams can be so detailed, so vivid, that it's nearly impossible to tell them apart from reality until we actually wake up. So, if a dream can feel that real, what's truly stopping our entire life from being one giant, super realistic dream that we just haven't woken up from yet? Here's the thing. Our brain creates everything we experience. When you look at a tree, your eyes don't actually see the tree directly. Your eyes send electrical signals to your brain, and your brain takes those signals and builds the image of the tree in your mind. The same thing happens for sounds, smells, tastes, and feelings. Your brain is like the most powerful virtual reality machine ever made. It takes all the information it gets and puts together the entire world you perceive. So, if your brain is so good at building a world from signals, what if those signals aren't coming from outside at all? What if they're just coming from inside your own mind, like an incredibly detailed movie playing just for you? Think about playing a super immersive video game. You might spend hours in it, feeling like you're really there, talking to other players, solving puzzles. You get excited when you win, frustrated when you lose. But deep down, it's not real. What if our lives are like that? A kind of game we're playing, where we're so deep into the experience that we've forgotten it's a game or a dream? The other people you interact with, your friends and family, could be like very clever characters in your dream. Or maybe other dreamers experiencing their own version of the dream alongside you. This thought might sound a little strange or even a bit unsettling at first. But what if it's not? What if thinking about life as a dream can actually be a comforting idea? If our worries, our small daily problems, or even our bigger struggles are just part of this huge, long dream, then maybe they aren't as heavy or permanent as they sometimes feel. Like a bad dream. Eventually, it will pass. And the good parts? The laughter with friends, the feeling of sunshine on your face, the warmth of a hug, the taste of your favorite food, these moments become even more precious. Because even if it's a dream, it's your dream. It's an experience you are having. Something beautiful and unique. It encourages us to make the most of every moment, to truly live within this amazing, vivid dream we find ourselves in. We don't have to find a final answer to whether it's real or not. We can just be here, gently floating through this experience, appreciating the calm and the mystery of it all. It's a soft thought to carry with you as you drift off, wondering about the edges of what's real and what's imagined. Are we living in a giant computer game? Have you ever stopped to really look at the world around you? Maybe at the perfect way a snowflake forms? Or how complicated a human brain is? And have you ever had a quiet thought, a whisper in your mind, that maybe, just maybe, this amazing, sometimes confusing world isn't quite what it seems? What if everything you see, hear, taste, touch, and feel is actually part of a giant, incredibly advanced computer program? This idea is called the simulation hypothesis. It's the thought that our entire reality, our planet, the stars, every person, every animal, every moment we've ever experienced, could be a detailed simulation running on a super powerful computer somewhere else. Think of it like a video game, but one that is so real, so complete, that the people playing inside it don't even know it's a game. For them, it's just life. People have actually thought about this idea for a very long time, even before computers were invented. Ancient Greek thinkers wondered if what we see is just a shadow of a deeper, more real truth. Later, Philosophers looked at dreams, which can feel incredibly real until you wake up, and asked if waking life was just another kind of dream. Here's the thing. Now, with incredible technology, this old question feels even more possible. We can build virtual reality worlds that are almost believable, and we play games where characters act like they have their own lives. So, what if some super advanced civilization, way smarter than us, built a simulation like ours? Imagine playing a game like Minecraft or The Sims. You build worlds, you make characters, you give them tasks, and they follow rules. You might even zoom in and watch them live out their days. Now, picture that, but millions of times more complex. In this bigger, smarter simulation, every single atom, every tiny bit of light, every thought in your head would be carefully programmed. All the laws of physics, like gravity or how light travels, would just be lines of code that make the world behave the way it does. You, me, your friends, your family, your pets, the trees outside, we would all be part of this incredibly detailed program. But here's a curious thought. If we were living in a simulation, would it change how real our feelings are? Would the joy of laughter, the comfort of a warm hug, the sadness of a goodbye, or the thrill of learning something new somehow become less true? Many people would say no. Even if our bodies and minds were built from code, the experiences and emotions we feel inside that code would still be ours. They would still be felt deeply, personally, and truly. Maybe the mystery of whether we're in a simulation isn't about proving it right or wrong. Instead, it's about making us think about how precious and unique every moment feels, no matter what its true nature might be. It invites us to wonder about the hidden depths of reality itself, and to appreciate the amazing, complex world we inhabit, whether it's truly real or just a beautiful, magnificent dream. How our senses can play tricks. Have you ever looked at something and thought, wait, is that really what I'm seeing? Or heard a sound, and for a second, it seemed like something else entirely? Our senses sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell are how we connect with the world. They bring in information, like little messengers, and our brain then takes that information and tries to make sense of it. But here's the thing. Sometimes, those messengers get a little mixed up, or our brain interprets the signals in a way that isn't quite what's actually happening out there. This is how our senses can play tricks on us, showing us that our reality isn't always as solid as we think. For thousands of years, people have wondered about this. Ancient thinkers, like the Greek philosopher Plato, even told stories about it. He had this famous idea of people living in a cave, only ever seeing shadows on a wall, thinking those shadows were the real world. They never saw the actual objects casting the shadows. It was a way to say, maybe what we experience isn't the full truth. Later, thinkers like René Descartes also questioned everything, even if he was really awake or just dreaming. These are big questions, but they start with something simple. How much can we trust our own eyes and ears? Our brain isn't just a recording device. It's more like a super-fast artist, constantly painting the picture of the world for us, based on the bits and pieces of information our senses gather. And sometimes, that painting isn't exactly a perfect copy. Think about optical illusions you might have seen online or in a book. You look at a picture, and suddenly, two faces appear where you only saw a vase, or lines that seemed straight now look bent. Your eyes are sending certain light patterns to your brain, but your brain can interpret them in more than one way. It's trying to find the best fit, but sometimes it chooses a fit that isn't the most obvious one, or even one that's not quite right. This isn't just about what we see. Our ears can trick us too. Have you ever been in a quiet room and thought you heard someone call your name, but no one was there? Or maybe you hear a faint melody in the distance, but as you get closer, you realize it's just the hum of a refrigerator. Your brain, craving patterns and meaning, can sometimes fill in the blanks, turning random sounds into something familiar or even something scary. And it's not always just a mistake. Our expectations can actually shape what we perceive. If you're walking home alone at night and feeling a little scared, every rustle of leaves or creak of a branch might sound like footsteps behind you. Your mind is already on alert, and it's almost waiting for something. So it interprets those sounds through a filter of fear. This amazing power of our brain to build our reality extends even further. In science, there's something called the placebo effect. If someone feels sick and they are given a sugar pill, but they believe it's real medicine, sometimes their body actually starts to feel better. The pill itself did nothing, but the person's belief, their expectation, was so strong that it influenced their physical experience. It shows how powerful our mind is in shaping not just what we perceive with our senses, but even how our body feels. So, when our senses play tricks, it's not necessarily a problem, it's a window. It reminds us that the world we experience isn't just a raw, unedited movie playing in front of us. It's a deeply personal version, crafted by our incredibly complex brain. This means the reality we believe in, the one we fall asleep in, is in many ways unique to each of us. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If my brain is creating my reality, and yours is creating yours, what is the real reality outside of us? It's a gentle thought to consider as you drift off, knowing that the very ground beneath your feet, or the sound of the night, might be just a little bit different for everyone. Could you be the only real person here? Have you ever looked around at your friends, your family, or even just people walking by, and wondered if they were truly, deeply real in the same way you are? It's a strange thought, right? But it's one that people have pondered for hundreds of years. This idea has a big fancy name: solipsism. Here's the thing about solipsism. It's the idea that only your mind is real. It suggests that everything else, every person you meet, every place you visit, every object you touch, might just be something your own mind has created, like a very vivid, never-ending dream. It's not about being selfish or thinking you're better than anyone. It's a question about what we can truly know for sure. Long ago, a wise thinker named René Descartes explored this. He wanted to find something he could be absolutely certain of, something no one could ever doubt. He tried to doubt everything. Could he trust his eyes? Maybe he was seeing things that weren't there. Could he trust his ears? Perhaps the sounds were just in his head. What if he was dreaming right at that moment, and everything felt real? But it wasn't. He doubted his body, his memories, even the world around him. But then, he realized one thing he couldn't doubt. The fact that he was doubting. If he was doubting, he had to be thinking. And if he was thinking, he had to exist as something that thinks. So, he came up with his famous line: "I think, therefore I am." He was sure of his own mind, his own existence. The big question then becomes, can we be sure of anything else? Think about it like this. When you have a really intense dream, the people in it feel real. Their voices are clear. Their actions make sense in the dream. But when you wake up, you know they were just creations of your sleeping mind. What if our waking life is just a much, much more detailed and consistent dream that your own consciousness is creating? It's a wild idea, but one that makes you pause and consider. Or imagine playing a video game where you are the main character. All the other characters, the non-player characters or NPCs, they walk around, they talk, they react to you, and they seem to have their own lives. But in truth, they are just lines of code, programmed to respond in certain ways. They don't have feelings or thoughts of their own, not like you do. What if you are the only true player in this world, and everyone else is like an NPC, expertly programmed by your own brain? This isn't about convincing you that everyone else isn't real. It's more like a thought experiment, a way to stretch your mind and consider how amazing and mysterious your own consciousness is. It reminds us that our own experience of reality is deeply personal and unique. And here's the quiet beauty in it. Even if you ponder this thought, even if you wonder if others are just parts of your imagination, the feelings they bring into your life are real. The joy of laughing with a friend, the comfort of a family hug, the connection you feel when you share something important, these feelings happen within you. So, whether everyone else truly exists outside your mind or not, the experiences and emotions they spark in you are undeniably real and deeply precious. It makes you value those connections even more, doesn't it? Imagine the world as a hologram. Have you ever looked around and truly wondered, is this all really here? Like, truly, deeply here? What if everything you see, feel, and touch isn't as solid as it seems. What if our whole world, the towering trees, the bright sky, even your own hands, is like a giant, super detailed picture projected into space? Here's the thing about a hologram. It's a special kind of image. It looks completely three-dimensional. So real, you might think you could walk around it, see it from every side. But it's not actually there in a physical way. It's made from light waves, cleverly arranged to trick your eyes into seeing depth and form. Think of those cool stickers on credit cards that show a picture seeming to jump out or move when you tilt them. That's a simple hologram. Now, imagine something much, much bigger. A projection so complex it feels utterly real. Some very smart people, from ancient thinkers to scientists today, have considered this idea. They've wondered if our universe works in a similar way. Not that we're living inside a sticker, of course, but that the deep reality of things might be more like information or energy arranged to appear as a solid, physical world. It's a bit like how a computer screen shows you amazing images and videos. You see mountains and faces, but it's all just tiny dots of light, called pixels, arranged in a specific way. The real stuff behind it is electrical signals and code. Ancient Greek thinkers, like a philosopher named Plato, explored a similar idea with his famous allegory of the cave. He imagined people chained in a cave, only able to see shadows dancing on a wall. They believed these shadows were the only reality. They didn't know a vibrant world outside the cave was casting those shadows. It's a very old way of asking, maybe what we see every day isn't the complete truth about what's real. And believe it or not, some modern scientists exploring the very deepest parts of physics have come across ideas that sound a bit like this. They talk about how information might be more fundamental, meaning more basic, than matter itself. It's almost like the universe could be coded, similar to how a computer program builds a virtual world. This isn't a proven fact, not yet, but it's a fascinating thought that keeps popping up in serious discussions about reality. Think about playing a virtual reality (VR) game. You put on a special headset, and suddenly you're in a completely different world. You can look around, even walk around, and interact with things like picking up objects. It feels incredibly real. You might reach out to touch a virtual wall, and your brain truly believes it's there, even though your hand just passes through empty air. The world inside the headset is a very detailed projection, created by complex code and displayed on tiny screens right in front of your eyes. What if our everyday world is just an unimaginably advanced version of that VR experience? We feel the wind, smell the flowers, taste delicious food. All of it could be generated like an incredibly sophisticated simulation. Your brain processes all this data and creates the powerful feeling of reality. If our world is a hologram or a simulation, what does that mean for us? Are we just part of the program? Are our feelings and thoughts also just complex parts of this projection? It's a big question, and there's no easy answer that everyone agrees on. But it makes you look at everything differently. The solid feel of your bed, the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of a friend's laugh. Could these all be highly convincing signals, rather than truly solid or physical things in the way we usually imagine? It's not about being scared or thinking nothing matters. Instead, it's about a different kind of wonder. If our world is a hologram, it means there's something even deeper, more complex and mysterious at its very core. It hints at a reality far grander than we usually imagine possible. It also makes you appreciate how amazing our senses are, and how powerful our minds are, that we can experience such a rich, full, and vibrant world, no matter what its true nature might be. It's a gentle reminder that reality might have layers we haven't even begun to understand, and that's a beautiful thought to hold as you drift to sleep. The Matrix idea, more than a movie. Have you ever stopped to think, really think, about whether the world you see around you, the life you're living right now, is truly, completely real? Or could it be something else, like a very clever dream you can't quite wake up from, or a super advanced video game? This idea might sound like something straight out of a science fiction movie, and it is. The famous film The Matrix explored this very question, but the core idea, the Matrix idea, is much older and deeper than just a movie plot. It's a thought that philosophers and thinkers have wondered about for thousands of years. So, what exactly is the Matrix idea? Simply put, it's the thought that our entire real-life everything we see, hear, touch, taste, and feel might actually be a computer simulation. Imagine a world so perfectly created by a super powerful computer that you wouldn't even know you were inside it. You'd have a body, feel emotions, go to school, hang out with friends, all of it. But none of it would be physically real in the way we usually think about it. Instead, it would all be made of code, like the characters and worlds in your favorite video game, but on a scale we can barely imagine. This isn't a new idea, even if it feels very modern. Way back in ancient Greece, a philosopher named Plato wondered about something similar. He told a story called The Allegory of the Cave. In his story, there were prisoners chained in a cave their whole lives. All they could see were shadows flickering on a wall, cast by a fire behind them. They believed these shadows were the real world because it's all they ever knew. They couldn't turn around to see the fire, the objects casting the shadows, or the sunlight outside the cave. Plato used this to suggest that maybe our everyday reality is just like those shadows. What if we're only seeing a small part of the truth, or a distorted version of it? Centuries later, another famous thinker, René Descartes, considered a deceiving demon or an evil genius. He wondered, what if there was an all-powerful, evil being whose only goal was to trick him? This demon could make him think he saw a tree, felt the sun, or heard a friend's voice, even if none of those things were truly there. Descartes used this thought to question everything he thought he knew, trying to find something he could be absolutely certain was real. Both Plato and Descartes, in their own ways, were asking, how can we know for sure that what we experience is real and not just a trick or a simulation? Now, with our understanding of computers growing, this old philosophical question has a new twist. We have super powerful computers that can create incredibly realistic virtual worlds. Think about how real a character in a high-definition video game looks today. Imagine that level of detail, but for everything, all the time. Imagine wearing a VR headset, but it's not just a headset, it's your entire life. You wouldn't know the difference. So, why think about this? Well, it's not about being scared or thinking the world isn't true. It's about opening your mind to different possibilities. It makes you look at things differently. If our reality could be a simulation, what does that mean for our choices, our feelings, our relationships? Does it make them less important or more so? The Matrix idea invites us to be curious, to question, and to appreciate the profound mystery of existence. It reminds us that there's so much we don't fully understand about the universe and even about ourselves. And in a way, it makes the moments we share, the laughter, the learning, the simple act of feeling the wind on your face, even more precious. Because whether this moment is real or simulated, it is still the moment we are in, and it is still ours to experience. It's about appreciating the journey, no matter what it's made of. It's a quiet thought to ponder as the world around you slowly drifts into the calm of night. Is time just something we feel? Have you ever stopped to think about how time feels different depending on what you're doing? Imagine you're waiting for a doctor's appointment. Those 10 minutes can stretch out forever, right? Every second feels slow and heavy. But then, think about playing your favorite video game, or spending time with friends you really like. Hours can just melt away, and suddenly it's dark outside, and you wonder where the whole afternoon went. It's like time speeding up or slowing down just for you. Here's the thing. Maybe it does. What if time isn't like a steady river, always flowing at the same speed for everyone? What if it's more like something our brain creates, a way our mind helps us organize the world? Our brains are amazing storytellers. They take all the sights, sounds, and feelings from around us and stitch them together into a continuous story. Part of that story is the idea of things happening one after another. First this, then that. This feeling of before and after is what we call time. It's how we know the past happened already, the present is happening right now, and the future is yet to come. For a very long time, people have wondered about this. Ancient thinkers, thousands of years ago, questioned if time was a real thing out there in the universe. or if it was just something we felt inside our heads. They saw that clocks measured time, but they also noticed how different people experienced moments so differently. Even today, some smart scientists explore ideas where time isn't a fixed, flowing river, but more like a dimension, similar to how we have height, width, and depth. In this view, time isn't just passing. Instead, we are kind of moving through it, and our path can be influenced by things like gravity or how fast we're going. It's a wild idea, but it shows how complex time really is. Think about a long car ride where you're bored. You keep asking, "Are we there yet?" Every minute feels like forever. But then you put on your favorite music, or you start talking about something interesting, and suddenly you're pulling into the driveway. The actual number of minutes hasn't changed, but your experience of those minutes definitely did. Your brain was busy and engaged, so it didn't focus on the passage of time. When you're bored, your brain is just waiting, so it notices every tick of the clock. Another way to think about it is with memories. When you remember something from last year, it doesn't feel like it's happening right now, does it? It feels like it's in the past, a completed event. Your brain assigns it a place in your personal timeline. But that feeling of past isn't a physical place you can visit. It's a feeling your mind gives to that memory to help you understand when it happened. So, if time is something we mostly feel and experience in our minds, what does that mean for us? It could mean that our inner world, our thoughts and feelings, has a huge power over how we experience reality. When we are fully present, focused on the now, like when you're really into a hobby or laughing with friends, that moment can feel richer, fuller, and less constrained by the clock. And then, when you look back, it might feel like it flew by, because you weren't actively counting the minutes. This can help you appreciate that every now is unique. It reminds us that our minds are incredibly powerful in shaping not just what we see, but how we experience the very flow of our lives. It's a little mystery that makes you wonder just how real anything outside our own minds truly is. Do we all see the same colors? Have you ever looked at a bright red apple and wondered if the red you see is the exact same red someone else sees? When you look at a clear blue sky, do you really know if your blue is the same blue as mine? It sounds like a strange question, but it's one people have thought about for a long, long time. Here's the thing. Color isn't just out there in the world, like a label stuck to an object. Instead, color is something our brains create. Think of it this way. When light hits an object, like that red apple, the apple soaks up some colors of light and bounces others back. Our eyes catch these bounced-back light waves. Inside your eyes, there are tiny cells that are sensitive to different light waves, like little antennas. When these cells pick up the light, they send signals to your brain. And this is where it gets interesting. Your brain takes these signals and turns them into what you experience as color. So, the red you see isn't just light. It's your brain's unique interpretation of that light. It's like your brain is a skilled artist, painting the world based on the information it receives. For hundreds of years, deep thinkers have wondered about this. There was a philosopher named John Locke who lived a long time ago. He talked about things being either truly part of an object, like its size or shape, or things that are more about how we sense them. He thought that size and shape were primary qualities. They are always there, no matter who looks at the object. But color, he believed, might be more of a secondary quality. This means color exists more in our minds, as a way our brains make sense of the light. It's a kind of translation, happening inside your head, not strictly out there in the world itself. We know for sure that not everyone sees colors the same way. The clearest example is color blindness. Someone who is colorblind might mix up reds and greens, or not see certain shades at all. Their eyes and brains are wired a bit differently, so their experience of color is just different. A stop sign might not look as bright red to them, or a green traffic light might look more like a dull yellow-brown. They are still seeing, but their red or green isn't the same as someone who isn't colorblind. Their inner reality of color is simply different, but even for people who aren't colorblind, there can be tiny differences. Think about how two friends might describe the color of a car. One might say it's sky blue, and the other says it's light teal. They're looking at the same car, but their internal blue might have slightly different boundaries or feelings. Or remember that viral picture of the dress from a few years ago? Some people swore it was blue and black, while others insisted it was white and gold. It was the exact same image, but different brains interpreted the light in different ways, leading to wildly different color experiences. This shows how much our own brain is creating the reality of color for us. So, when you see a beautiful sunset, that fiery orange or soft pink might be unique to your experience. The calming blue of the ocean, the vibrant green of the grass, these colors are not just out there waiting to be seen. They are painted by your own brain, a masterpiece happening right inside your head. This idea that even something as basic as color might not be universally the same for everyone can feel a little strange. It means that each of us lives in our own slightly different version of the world, built by our senses and our brains. It's a reminder that our reality, the world we experience, is incredibly personal. It's okay if your red isn't exactly my red. It just means that each of us carries a truly unique, private universe inside us. And that's a calm, beautiful thought, isn't it? It means your experience of the world is truly your own, a special place no one else can fully enter. What if sounds aren't really there? Have you ever stopped to truly listen to a sound? Maybe the rustle of leaves outside your window, or the quiet hum of your computer fan. You hear it, right? But here's the thing. What if that sound isn't really out there in the way we usually think? What if the sound itself, the actual experience of hearing it, only exists inside your head? It's a strange idea. But think about it this way. When a tree falls in a forest and no one is around, does it make a sound? Most people would say yes. The tree hitting the ground creates vibrations, right? Those vibrations travel through the air in waves. But a wave isn't a sound. Not yet. A wave is just a physical movement. For it to become a sound, something has to pick up those waves and turn them into the experience we call hearing. That something is your ear and your brain. Your ear gathers those air vibrations, and then it sends electrical signals to your brain. It's your brain that then takes those signals and creates the sensation of a specific sound, a thud, a whoosh, a whisper. So, the sound itself, the actual thud or whoosh you perceive, isn't floating in the air. It's an interpretation, a creation of your mind, happening inside your skull. This isn't a new idea. Philosophers, people who spend their lives thinking about deep questions, have wondered about this for centuries. They asked if the world we see, hear, and touch is really just a picture our minds are painting for us. They suggested that the color red isn't a thing out there in the world, but rather how our brain interprets certain light waves. And the smell of cookies isn't floating in the air, but what our brain does with certain chemical particles that enter our nose. Sound is the same. The vibrations are real, but the sound is a feeling your brain makes. Think about a dog whistle. You can blow it, and your dog might perk up its ears, excited, but you hear nothing. Does that mean there was no vibration? No. There were certainly sound waves. They were just at a frequency too high for your human ears to pick up, and for your brain to process into a sound. The waves existed, but the sound, for you, did not. So, the sound of a dog whistle only exists for creatures whose brains are wired to interpret those specific waves. Or, consider a song playing on a speaker. The speaker is just pushing air around in specific patterns. But your brain takes those patterns and turns them into a melody, a rhythm, even an emotion. A computer only hears those vibrations as data, not as a beautiful song. A deaf person, even if standing right next to the speaker, would feel the vibrations, but wouldn't experience the sound of the music. Here's what this means for us. Our experience of sound is incredibly personal. What one person hears might be different from what another person hears, even if they're listening to the exact same thing. It's a bit like how two people can look at the same piece of art but feel completely different things. Our brains are truly amazing, always working behind the scenes to build the reality we experience. So, as you drift off, think about this. The world might be a quieter place than you imagine. Those gentle sounds you hear might be soft whispers from your own brain, building a comforting auditory landscape just for you. It's a reminder that much of what we experience as real is a clever trick, a beautiful magic show, happening right inside our own minds. And that's a deep thought to carry into your dreams. The whole world inside your mind. Have you ever stopped to really think about how you know what's real? It might seem like a simple question. You look around, you touch things, you hear sounds, and boom, that's reality, right? But what if I told you that the world you see, hear, and feel isn't just out there waiting to be discovered? What if it's also being built, moment by moment, right inside your own head? Here's the thing. Your eyes don't actually see pictures. Your ears don't just hear sounds. What they do is collect tiny bits of information, light waves, sound vibrations, pressure on your skin. These tiny bits are then sent as electrical signals to your brain. Your brain then takes all these raw signals and pieces them together. It interprets them. It makes sense of them. It turns light into the colors and shapes you see. It turns vibrations into the voices and music you hear. It's like your brain is a master artist, taking scattered dots of paint and creating a complete, vibrant picture just for you. For thousands of years, smart people have wondered about this. They looked at the world and asked, is what I see truly how things are? Or is it just how my mind makes sense of it? They realized that everything we experience comes through our senses, and then our brain processes those experiences. This means that your personal reality, the world you live in, is always filtered and put together by your own unique brain. Think about something simple, like a dream. When you're dreaming, it feels incredibly real, doesn't it? You can run, you can feel fear, you can see people and places, and it all seems totally solid. But it's all happening inside your mind. Your brain is creating an entire world, complete with sounds, sights, and feelings, even though your eyes are closed and your body is asleep. It shows just how powerful your brain is at creating a complete experience out of nothing but its own activity. Or consider optical illusions. You know those pictures where you might see two different things depending on how you look at them? Like the famous old woman or young lady picture, or the vase that also looks like two faces. The lines on the paper don't change. The light hitting your eyes doesn't change, but your brain can flip its interpretation. It decides to see one thing, then with a shift in focus, it decides to see another. That's your brain actively working, building the perception. It's not just passively taking in information. It's making choices about what it shows you. So, here's what this means for your everyday life. Your brain isn't just a recording device. It's a very active builder of your world. It uses your past experiences, your feelings, and what it expects to happen to fill in the gaps and create the full picture. This is why two people can see the exact same event but remember it differently, or feel differently about it. Their brains have processed that event through different filters, building slightly different realities for each of them. Understanding this isn't meant to make you doubt everything around you. Instead, it's a quiet reminder of how truly amazing and powerful your mind is. Your brain is a universe unto itself, always creating, always interpreting. The world you experience, in all its detail and feeling, is a masterpiece painted by your own mind, unique to you. It's a deeply personal reality, crafted just for your awareness. Other worlds, happening right now. Have you ever stopped for a moment and just wondered, really wondered, what if the world around you, the one you see and feel, isn't the only one? What if, right now, as you listen to this, there are countless other versions of reality unfolding, each one a little different, each one happening all at once? This idea is a bit mind-bending, but it's something people have thought about for a very long time. It's called the multiverse, or parallel realities. The basic idea is that for every choice we make, for every tiny event that happens, there might be a different version of reality where things went a different way. Imagine you wake up and choose to wear a blue shirt. In this reality, you are wearing blue. But what if, in another world, a parallel reality, a version of you woke up at the exact same moment and chose a red shirt instead? That other you is living a slightly different day because of that one small decision. This isn't just a fun thought from science fiction movies. Some very smart thinkers, from ancient philosophers to modern scientists, have explored this idea. For thousands of years, people have debated about destiny versus free will. If we have free will, and we make choices, What happens to all the choices we didn't make? Do they just vanish? Or do they play out somewhere else? In modern science, especially in a field called quantum physics, which studies the smallest particles that make up everything, there's a strange idea. These tiny particles don't seem to just exist in one place. They can be in many places at once, or in many different states, until we actually look at them. It's like they're undecided. And some scientists wonder if, when these tiny particles decide what they're doing, the universe actually splits. One reality goes one way, and another reality goes the other way, carrying all the what-ifs with it. Think about playing a video game where your choices really matter. You might reach a point where you can either open a mysterious door or walk past it. If you open the door, one adventure begins. If you walk past it, a completely different story unfolds. In a game, you usually pick one path. But imagine if, in the real universe, both paths truly happen. You walk past the door in this reality, but in a parallel reality, a version of you bravely opens it, and their adventure continues down that path. Every single decision you make, big or small, what you eat for lunch, what you say to a friend, which way you turn on your bike ride, could potentially create a new branching path in the vast tree of existence. This doesn't mean you should spend your time worrying about all the other versions of you out there. Instead, it's a quiet way to think about how rich and full of possibilities life truly is. It makes every single moment, every single choice you make right here, right now, feel special. Because even if other worlds exist where things are different, this world, your world, is the one you are experiencing. It's a reminder that your choices matter deeply in this reality, the one you are living. And knowing that the universe might be so incredibly vast, with countless versions of everything happening, can bring a sense of calm, wonder, reminding us that even the smallest moments in our reality are part of something truly immense and mysterious. Are we all tiny parts of one huge brain? Have you ever looked at the night sky, or stood by the ocean, and felt incredibly small, but also wonderfully connected to everything around you? What if our individual minds, our own unique thoughts and feelings, aren't just separate islands, but tiny parts of something much, much larger? Imagine a giant, universal mind, and we are all just little pieces of it, like cells in one enormous brain. This idea is pretty old. For thousands of years, people have wondered about this. Ancient thinkers in different parts of the world, long before modern science, had ideas about everything being connected. They felt like there was a single, great spirit or consciousness that everything was part of. They believed that our personal consciousness, what makes you, might just be a tiny spark from a vast, universal flame. It's like how a single wave is part of the whole ocean. The wave has its own shape and movement, but it's still made of the same water as the entire sea. So, here's the thing. This isn't a scientific fact. We can't put a huge brain under a microscope and find you in it. Instead, it's a way of looking at the world, a deep thought about how reality might work. It suggests that consciousness isn't just something that happens inside our skulls. It's not just in humans or animals. It might be a fundamental part of the universe itself, everywhere, all the time. Our individual brains, then, might be like receivers, tuning into this greater consciousness, just like your phone tunes into the internet. Your phone doesn't contain the internet, but it connects to it and lets you access information that lives everywhere. Think about an ant colony. Thousands of ants, each moving, finding food, building tunnels. No single ant is the boss or the brain of the colony. But when you watch the whole colony working together, it acts like one intelligent being. It builds complex structures, finds the best food sources, defends itself. The mind of the colony isn't in one ant. It's in the way all the ants connect and communicate. What if we are like those ants? What if our thoughts, our feelings, our very awareness are all part of a bigger network, a vast, cosmic consciousness? Our individual minds are like single ants, but all of us together, living, dreaming, thinking, form something much grander. This idea means that perhaps we are never truly alone. Our thoughts, even our secret ones, might be tiny echoes in a much larger shared space. When you learn something new, or have a brilliant idea, maybe that thought isn't just born in your head, but is somehow also part of this greater flow of information in the universe. And when we dream, perhaps we are just tuning into that vast, shared network, experiencing a tiny piece of the universe dreaming itself. It's a peaceful thought, making us feel connected to everything and everyone, like we are all part of the same grand, unfolding story, written by one immense dreaming mind. The universe as a school project? Have you ever stopped to really look at the sky at night? Or watched a tiny ant carrying something huge, much bigger than itself? The world around us is amazing, full of incredible details, from the smallest blade of grass to the biggest galaxy. It's so vast and complex, it almost makes you wonder, could someone have built all this? Like a super incredible, giant, mind-blowing school project? This idea, that our whole reality might be a kind of made-up place, is called the simulation hypothesis. It's like thinking our universe isn't truly real, in the solid way we usually think of it. Instead, it could be a massive computer program, running on some super advanced machine somewhere else. Think of it like a very detailed video game, but one so real that the characters inside it would never know they were in a game. They'd feel real emotions, have real thoughts, and live what they believe are real lives. Imagine a student far, far into the future. This student is incredibly smart, living in a time when technology is almost like magic. For their biggest science fair project ever, they decide to create a whole universe. They program in all the rules of physics, every star, every planet, every tree, every animal, and maybe even every single person. They make it so realistic, with so many tiny details, that anyone living inside it would feel like their world was completely, truly real. They wouldn't know they were part of someone's homework assignment, designed to earn an A+. People have been asking questions like this for thousands of years, long before anyone even dreamed of computers. Ancient Greek thinkers, like a philosopher named Plato, imagined a cave where people were chained, only able to see shadows on a wall. They thought the shadows were real, because that was all they knew. But outside the cave, the real world existed, full of sunlight and actual objects. This old idea is kind of similar to the simulation idea. What if what we see and touch isn't the most real version of reality, but a reflection or a highly detailed copy? Today, some very smart scientists and thinkers still wonder about it. They look at how quickly our own computer games are becoming more and more real, with amazing graphics and complex worlds. They think, if we can create such detailed virtual worlds, couldn't someone even more advanced than us have created ours? It's a thought that stretches your mind, making you wonder just how deep reality goes. So, if our universe were a giant school project, what would that mean for us? Would it make our lives less important? Would our choices, our feelings, our friendships still matter? Here's the thing. Even if we were characters in the most amazing school project ever made, our experiences would still be absolutely real to us. The joy you feel when you laugh with friends, the comfort you find in your favorite song, the challenges you face and overcome, the quiet moments of wonder, these are all your experiences. They are real within the world, and they shape who you are. The creator of such a project might even have intended for us to have these very real feelings and connections. Maybe this idea isn't meant to make us doubt everything, but to make us curious about the deep mysteries of existence. It's a thought experiment that makes us appreciate the incredible complexity and beauty of the world we live in, whether it's a vast cosmic program or the most brilliant science fair entry of all time. It reminds us that there's so much we don't know, so much more to wonder about, and so much beauty to explore. And perhaps, just perhaps, as you consider this fascinating possibility, it helps your mind drift gently, calmly, as you prepare for sleep. What if our memories are borrowed? Have you ever remembered something clearly, but then later wondered if it really happened exactly that way? Or perhaps someone told you a story about your own childhood, and suddenly, that story became part of your memory, even if you don't truly recall the event yourself? Here's the thing. What if our memories aren't always just our own, built only from our personal experiences? This idea that our memories might be borrowed doesn't mean someone is literally reaching into your brain and putting thoughts there. No, it's much more subtle than that. It's about how our minds work, how they build up our past. Sometimes we create memories or change existing ones based on stories we've heard, pictures we've seen, or even movies we've watched. We might start to feel like we truly remember something in a specific way, even if our original experience was vague, or maybe even non-existent. Think about this for a moment. Imagine your older sibling tells you a wild, funny story about something you both did when you were very little. You might not remember it at all initially, but because they tell it so vividly, with so many details, and they laugh, you start to feel like you remember it too. You might even begin to add your own little feelings or imagine details to the story. And after a while, that story truly feels like your own memory, a real part of your past, even if your brain didn't originally record it that way. This happens more often than you might think. For a very long time, thinkers and philosophers have wondered about where our knowledge comes from. Do we just learn everything from scratch, like an empty notebook? Or do we carry some shared ideas, some basic understandings that are passed down through generations or through our culture? It's like how we all know certain fairy tales, even if we've never read the exact book they came from. Those stories, those ideas, become part of our shared human memory, shaping how we think about heroes or villains, or how the world works. In the world of science, especially in psychology, researchers have studied something called false memories. This isn't about lying. It's about how easy it can be for our brains to create or subtly change memories. Sometimes, if people are told something happened, especially by someone they trust, their minds can actually form a memory of it, even if it didn't occur or if their own experience was different. This shows how delicate and how easily influenced our personal history can be. Here's how it works in a simple way. Imagine a group of friends who all witnessed a small accident. Each friend then tells their version of what happened to the others. Friend A is certain the car involved was blue. Friend B, who wasn't sure about the color initially, hears Friend A's confident report. Soon, Friend B starts to remember the car being blue too. Even if their own eyes didn't clearly see that detail, their personal memory of the event gets woven together with the information they receive from their trusted friend. It's a bit like how a small stream can grow bigger and change its path when other streams flow into it. Your personal stream of memory picks up bits and pieces from the streams of others. This doesn't mean our memories are untrustworthy or fake. Not at all. It simply means they are incredibly complex, like a giant, ever-changing puzzle. Parts of the puzzle are definitely our own direct experiences, but other pieces might come from the stories we hear, the books we read, the things we see on screens, or even the general ideas shared by everyone around us. Our sense of the past, of who we are, is built from many different sources. So, when we remember something, maybe it's not just a perfect playback of an event. Maybe it's a careful weaving together of what really happened, mixed with what we've been told, what we imagined, and what we've come to believe. It reminds us that our inner world is connected to the outer world in deep ways. Our memories are personal, yes, but they are also part of a larger human story, influenced by all the voices and experiences that surround us. It's a peaceful thought, knowing that, in a way, we are all connected through the tapestry of our shared understanding. And sometimes, the lines between what is truly ours and what we have absorbed from the world around us can beautifully blur. That déjà vu feeling, a little glitch? Have you ever walked into a new place or heard someone say something and suddenly felt a strange, strong sense that you've experienced this exact moment before? Not just something similar, but this exact moment? It's like a whisper from the past, telling you, hey, you've been here, done this, but you know you haven't. This feeling, this curious echo, is what we call déjà vu. The words déjà vu come from French, and they simply mean already seen. It's that odd sensation of familiarity, that quiet certainty that what you are experiencing right now has happened to you exactly like this before. Maybe you're having a conversation, and the words, the setting, even the light in the room, all click into place with a memory that isn't really there. Or perhaps you're listening to a new song, and for a split second you're convinced you've heard it before, note for note. For a long, long time, people couldn't explain this feeling. Some wondered if it was a memory from a past life, a forgotten dream, or even a quick peek into the future, like a whisper of what was meant to be. It seemed to hint at something deeper, a secret layer to reality we couldn't quite grasp. But scientists today have a different idea. They think it's more about how our amazing brains work, and sometimes how they might get a little mixed up. Here's one way to think about it. Imagine your brain is like a super fast computer that records everything. Sometimes, when a new experience comes in, a new sight, a new sound, a new feeling, different parts of your brain process that information at slightly different speeds. It's only a tiny fraction of a second, but it's enough. So, one part of your brain might get the information just a hair before another part. By the time the second part of your brain fully processes it, the first part has already seen it. This makes your brain trick itself into thinking, wait, I just saw this. This is familiar, even though it's actually the very first time you're fully aware of it. It's like a tiny skip, a little glitch in the system that makes the present feel like the past. Think of it like this. You're watching a video game, and for a tiny millisecond, the screen flickers or stutters. When it comes back to normal, the image feels oddly familiar, even though it just fully appeared. That brief, almost unnoticeable hiccup in processing can make the next moment feel like a repeat. It's not that reality is repeating itself, but that your brain has processed the new information in a way that tricks you into feeling like it has. Another idea is that déjà vu happens when your brain tries to match a new experience to something similar but forgotten. Maybe you saw a picture of a house years ago that looked a lot like the one you're walking past now, but you don't remember the picture. When you see the actual house, your brain feels a strong connection to that old, forgotten image, and it registers as a feeling of already seen. It's like finding a brand new puzzle piece that somehow fits perfectly into an unfinished puzzle you didn't even realize you had started. This strange, fleeting feeling of déjà vu reminds us that our perception of reality isn't always as solid as we think. Our brains are incredible, complex things, constantly trying to make sense of the world around us. But sometimes, they play little tricks, creating these curious moments where time seems to fold in on itself, where the present feels like an echo of something past. It's not a scary thing or a sign that reality is truly broken. Instead, it's a calm, curious whisper from our own minds, a subtle reminder of the intricate dance of memory and perception happening beneath the surface of our everyday lives. And in those moments, we get to wonder, just for a second, about the many layers of what it means to be real. Seeing things, is it all in your head? Have you ever woken up from a really vivid dream? One where everything felt so real? The sights, the sounds, even the feelings, only to realize it was all just in your head? It can be a strange feeling, right? That sense that something was undeniably true, only for it to vanish the moment your eyes open. This feeling makes us wonder about something deep. How much of what we see and experience every day is truly out there, and how much is built right inside our own minds? Our brains are incredible. They don't just record the world like a camera or a video recorder. Instead, they are constantly active, building our reality piece by piece, from the signals they get. Think about it. Light hits your eyes, sound waves hit your ears, and sensations touch your skin. But it's your brain that takes these raw signals and turns them into the bright blue sky you see, the familiar voice you hear, or the warmth of your blanket. Your brain is a master artist, painting your world in real time. So, here's the thing. If your brain is the one creating your reality, what happens if the building blocks are a little different? Or if your brain decides to interpret them in its own unique way? Sometimes, our brains can create things, or interpret things, in ways that make us question what's truly there. This isn't about being sick or imagining things in a scary way. It's just about how powerful and active our brains are. Think of an optical illusion. You look at a picture, and it seems to move, or lines look bent when they're actually straight. Your eyes are sending signals, but your brain is putting them together in a way that makes you see something that isn't physically shifting or bending. That's a simple example of how what we see isn't always exactly what's there. People have wondered about this for thousands of years. Long ago, a famous thinker named Plato had an idea. He talked about people living in a cave. They could only see shadows on the wall, cast by a fire behind them. They thought these shadows were real things, but they were just copies, reflections of the real world outside the cave. Plato's idea makes you think, are we like those people in the cave? Are we seeing just shadows or images of reality instead of reality itself? It's a pretty deep question, and it really makes you think about what's true. Consider everyday moments, like being really tired, walking home in the dark. A coat hanging on a chair might suddenly look like a monster for a second. Your brain, trying to make sense of blurry shapes and shadows, fills in the blanks. Or, if you're really excited or really scared, colors might seem brighter, or sounds might seem louder. Your feelings can actually change how your brain interprets the world around you. Or consider when you mishear a song lyric and sing it wrong for years, your brain just filled in what it expected to hear. These are small everyday ways our brains filter and shape what we experience. What you see is influenced not just by light hitting your eyes, but by your memories, your feelings, and what your brain expects. Or consider when you're in a quiet house at night and you hear a strange creak or rustle. For a split second, your brain might interpret it as something scary, a monster, a ghost, before you realize it's just the house settling or the cat walking by. That moment of thinking something is there, when it's not, shows how quickly your brain tries to make sense of information, sometimes jumping to conclusions. So, if our brains are always building and sometimes even making up parts of what we see, how can we be sure that what we're looking at is real? In the same way for everyone. Maybe my blue isn't your blue. Maybe the way I see that tree is totally different from the way you see it. It's not about being confused or dreaming all the time. It's about realizing that our personal view of the world is just that, personal. This idea isn't meant to make you feel unsure about everything. Instead, it can make you appreciate how amazing your own mind is. Your brain is a universe unto itself, constantly working to make sense of everything around you, creating your unique picture of the world. It reminds us that each person's experience of reality, the things they see and hear and feel, is a truly special and private thing. And maybe, just maybe, understanding this can help us be a bit more understanding of how others see the world too. Because their reality, just like ours, is a magnificent creation, unfolding right there, inside their heads. It's a quiet thought to hold on to as you drift off to sleep, that your very own vision of the world is a wonder, built by you, just for you. Your imagination, a world maker. Have you ever just stared off into space, lost in thought? Maybe you were picturing your dream vacation or planning what you'd say to a friend. Or perhaps you were just making up a whole new world in your head, full of strange creatures and amazing adventures. What you were doing, right then, was using your imagination. And here's the thing. Your imagination is one of the most powerful tools your mind has. So, what is imagination really? It's not just daydreaming, even though that's a part of it. Imagination is your brain's incredible ability to build things that aren't actually in front of you. It lets you see, hear, feel, and even taste things that don't exist yet, or don't exist at all, except in your mind. It's like having a giant, empty stage inside your head, and your imagination is the director, the set designer, the actors, and the audience all at once. It can create whole scenes, stories, and possibilities out of nothing. Think about it. Every invention, every book, every piece of art ever made started as an idea, a picture, a feeling inside someone's mind. That was their imagination at work. People have been wondering about imagination for a very long time. Thousands of years ago, even ancient Greek thinkers were fascinated by it. They asked, are the things we imagine just silly thoughts? Or do they tell us something about deeper truths? Some believe that our minds could touch on ideas that were more real than the world around us, even if we couldn't see them. Others thought imagination was just how our memories got mixed up and reformed into something new. But they all agreed it was a special power. It was like a hidden chamber in the mind, a place where new things could be born. They understood that without imagination, humans couldn't dream of building cities, or solving mysteries, or even understanding each other very well. It's how we step outside what's right in front of us and think about what if. Let's say you're sitting in class, bored, and you start drawing in your notebook. You're not just copying something you see. Maybe you're inventing a new kind of robot, or a fantastical treehouse. Every line you draw, every color you choose, comes from somewhere inside you. It comes from your imagination. Or think about a time you tried to solve a problem, like how to fit all your clothes into a suitcase that seems too small. Before you even touch a shirt, your mind probably pictures different ways to fold things, or moves items around in your head. That mental trying out is imagination helping you. It's how you build a plan before you even act it out in the real world. In science, it's the same. Before scientists can build a new machine or figure out a new theory about the universe, they first have to imagine it. Albert Einstein, one of the most famous scientists ever, used his imagination to picture himself riding on a beam of light. He called these thought experiments. He would imagine situations and see how they played out in his mind. And these imaginings helped him understand complex ideas about space and time, leading to some of his biggest discoveries. He wasn't just doing math. He was seeing possibilities that no one else could. So, if your mind can create entire worlds, entire scenarios, entire realities within itself, what does that say about what is truly real? When you're lost in a book, truly feeling what the characters feel, are those feelings less real just because the characters aren't standing next to you? When you imagine a perfect future, that future might not exist yet, but the idea of it, the feeling of it, is very real in your mind right now. Your imagination shows us that reality isn't just what we can touch and see. It's also what we can conceive, what we can dream up, what we can hold in our mind's eye. It's a quiet reminder that our inner world, the one we build with our thoughts and feelings, is just as vast, just as important, and sometimes just as real as the world outside. It reminds us that part of what makes reality, real, is what we bring to it, what we believe, and what we dare to imagine. And that's a comforting thought as you drift off to sleep, knowing your mind can craft any reality it wishes. What if magic is just science we don't know yet? Have you ever thought about things that seem impossible? Things that would feel like pure magic if you didn't know how they worked? Imagine trying to explain a smartphone to someone from 100 years ago. A flat piece of glass that lets you talk to people across oceans, see their faces, or instantly find out anything you want to know. They would call it a miracle, a spell, something only a wizard could do. But we know it's not magic. It's just science. It's radio waves moving through the air, tiny computer chips, and signals bouncing off satellites. All of these things follow rules we've discovered and learned to use. And here's the thing. Maybe what we call magic isn't really magic at all. Maybe it's just science we haven't figured out yet. It's just the rules of the universe that are still hidden from us. Think about people long, long ago. When lightning flashed and thunder roared, they didn't know about static electricity building up in clouds. They thought powerful gods were throwing bolts from the sky. When someone got sick with a fever, they didn't know about tiny germs that you can't see. They might have believed a curse was put on that person, or that an evil spirit was at work. For them, germs and electricity were like magic, invisible forces doing strange, powerful things. But then, smart people started to wonder. They studied. They experimented. They watched carefully. Slowly, bit by bit, they learned the rules. They began to understand what was really happening. They took what seemed like magic and turned it into understanding. They turned it into science. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if all those incredible stories, all those things that still seem impossible, are just waiting for us to discover their own hidden rules? Consider something simple, like a magnet. You can hold two magnets, and they pull towards each other, or push away, without anything touching them. It's an invisible force. To someone who had never seen a magnet, it might seem like a trick or some kind of special power. But we know it's just the natural force of magnetism, a part of how our universe works. It's a rule of physics. We understand it now, so it's not magic to us. This idea changes how we think about the world around us. It means the world isn't just what we see right now. There might be so many hidden layers, secret connections, and unknown rules. Perhaps the reality we experience every day is just the surface of something much deeper and more complex. What if our brains can do more than we know? What if there are forces or types of energy we haven't even dreamed of yet? Maybe the magic we read about in books, or the superpowers we see in movies, are just whispers of what our universe could be, if we just understood more of its secrets. It's a calm thought, truly. It means the universe is bigger, stranger, and more full of wonders than we can possibly imagine. Every discovery we make, every new question we ask, slowly, gently, turns what was once magic into just another part of how things really work. As you drift off to sleep, maybe think about that the world is still full of mysteries. And that's not something to be scared of. It's something to be wonderfully curious about. It makes the world a quiet, incredible place, waiting for us to learn more, piece by piece. The butterfly dream. Are you a butterfly? Have you ever woken up from a really vivid dream, and for a split second, you weren't sure if you were truly awake or still inside that dream world? Maybe you were flying or talking to someone who isn't real, and when your eyes opened, the feeling of it all still clung to you. You had to blink a few times, maybe pinch yourself, just to be sure you were back in your bed, in your room, in what you call reality. Now, imagine that feeling, but for your whole life. That's the core idea behind something called the butterfly dream. It's a very old thought experiment, a way of thinking about reality that comes from an ancient Chinese philosopher named Zhuangzi. He lived a very long time ago, more than 2,000 years, and he had a famous dream. Here's what happened. One night, Zhuangzi dreamt he was a butterfly. He flitted and fluttered among the flowers, feeling completely free and happy. He wasn't thinking about being a human. He was just a butterfly, experiencing life as a butterfly. It felt totally real to him. He forgot all about his human life. But then, he woke up, and when he did, he was Zhuangzi again. He was a man, back in his bed. But here's the thing that made him pause. He started to wonder. Was he Zhuangzi, who had just dreamed he was a butterfly? Or was he a butterfly who was now dreaming he was Zhuangzi? He couldn't tell the difference. Both experiences felt equally real. The butterfly dream had been so clear, so vivid, that he questioned his own reality. He questioned whether his current life was just another dream. This isn't about being scared, or thinking that everything around you isn't real in a bad way. Instead, it's about opening your mind to a deep question that philosophers have thought about for ages. How do we really know what's real and what's a dream? Our senses, what we see, hear, touch, taste, and smell tell us things. But sometimes, in dreams, our senses can trick us. You can feel the warmth of the sun, hear the sound of a friend's voice, or taste your favorite food, all while you're fast asleep. Think about playing a really immersive video game, maybe one where you put on a headset and it feels like you're actually inside the game world. For a little while, you might forget you're just sitting on your couch. Everything inside the game feels real. The characters, the places, the challenges. What if our entire life is like that? What if it's a kind of incredibly detailed, super realistic dream, and we just haven't woken up from it yet? And that's why this idea matters. The butterfly dream makes us consider how strong our experiences are, and how convincing our minds can be. If a dream can feel exactly like reality, with all its sights, sounds, and feelings, then how can we ever truly be sure we're not just inside one big, long dream right now? Our memories feel real. Our emotions feel real. The people we care about feel real. But in a powerful dream, those things can feel real too. It's a calm thought, not a frightening one. It simply reminds us that the world, and our place in it, is full of mysteries. The butterfly dream isn't telling you that your life is definitely a dream. It's simply asking you to think about how you know what you know. It invites you to consider that maybe, just maybe, the boundary between what's real and what's a dream is softer and more beautiful than we usually think. And perhaps the greatest wonder isn't finding a definitive answer, but simply appreciating the vivid, rich experience of life, whether it's a dream or something else entirely. Animals see the world differently. Have you ever stopped to think what the world really looks like? Not just to you, but to a bat or a dog? We believe our senses show the full picture, our reality. But what if our reality is just one of many, shaped by the tools we have to experience it? Here's the thing. Every living creature experiences the world through its own unique senses. Our human eyes see light in a certain range. Our ears pick up specific sounds. We build our reality from this. But animals have different tools, so their realities are wildly different from ours. Imagine explaining red to someone who's never seen it. Impossible, right? They lack the tool. What if entire ways of sensing are missing or supercharged in other creatures? This isn't just better eyesight. It's a different kind of world. People assumed animals saw like us. But learning how senses work showed us each creature's unique perception. Reality isn't fixed. It's a collection of experiences. Think about a dog. You see your living room, full of furniture and colors. A dog sees the same room, but it experiences a world dominated by smell. That couch isn't just brown, it's a history of scents. Dogs live in invisible scent trails, like we live in visible light. Their reality is a constant river of odors. And their hearing? They hear high-pitched sounds, like a dog whistle, silent to us. Your dog might hear a tiny hum from the refrigerator or a distant mouse. Their world is richer in smells and sounds we can't detect, making their reality far different from ours. Or consider a bird, like a robin. When you look at a flower, you see bright petals, but many birds can see ultraviolet light. This means the flower might have patterns and colors invisible to us. What looks like a plain daisy to you might be a vibrant, patterned target to a bird. The beauty of a garden, the signals on a bird's feather saw, these could look entirely different in a bird's reality. And what about a bat flying in the dark? Bats see with sound. They send out high-pitched squeaks and then listen for the echoes. From these echoes, their brains create a mental map of surroundings where walls are, where an insect is flying. To a bat, a room isn't shapes and colors. It's a dynamic soundscape. Their reality is built not on light, but on the precise timing and strength of air vibrations. This idea that different creatures have different realities based on their senses is powerful. It suggests our understanding of reality is just one version. It's built from our human eyes, ears, and how we process information. That's okay. It's how we navigate. But it also means the universe is far more vast and mysterious than we think. There are countless other ways to see and hear and feel. So, as you drift off to sleep, maybe imagine what your room looks like to a spider sensing vibrations on its web, or to a cat seeing in near darkness. Think about how their reality, though hidden from us, is just as real and complete for them as ours is for us. It helps us remember that our way of seeing things isn't the only way. That's a truly amazing thought. It makes the world feel bigger, more magical, and full of hidden dimensions we might never truly grasp. And maybe it makes our own human reality feel a little less rigid, a little more like a beautiful dream we're all sharing in our own unique ways. What if gravity just took a break? Have you ever stopped to think about what holds you down? Not in a sad way, but literally. What keeps your feet on the ground, your backpack on your shoulders, and the water in your glass? We often don't even notice it, but there's this incredible force working all the time, everywhere. It's called gravity. But here's the thing. What if, just for a moment, or maybe forever, gravity just decided to take a break? Imagine waking up one morning and feeling lighter. Not just a little bit, but completely weightless. You'd push off your bed, and instead of standing, you'd slowly float towards the ceiling. Your breakfast cereal would drift around the kitchen, and your milk would form little clear bubbles, bouncing gently off the walls. Everything we know, everything we depend on, would be instantly, utterly different. So, what is gravity, really? In the simplest terms, it's the natural pull between any two objects that have mass. The more mass an object has, the stronger its pull. That's why Earth, being so huge, pulls on us so strongly, keeping us firmly planted. It's not magic. It's a fundamental rule of the universe. For hundreds of years, people have tried to understand it. You might have heard the story about Isaac Newton and the apple falling on his head. Whether it's true or not, it helps us think about how he realized this invisible force wasn't just about apples falling, but about the moon orbiting Earth and planets orbiting the sun. It connects everything in the cosmos. But think about our daily lives. Right now, as you sit or stand, gravity is your constant companion. It keeps the ball on the court when you dribble. It makes the rain fall from the sky, and it ensures your house stays put on its foundation. We build our entire world around this force. Our bridges are designed to resist it. Our airplanes use it to lift off the ground. And even the simple act of pouring a drink relies on liquid being pulled downwards. Here's what would happen if it paused. Your clothes would float away. Your school desk would slowly lift, and walking would become a series of careful pushes, trying not to bump into the ceiling. It's a little like how we don't really think about the air we breathe until it's not there. We just expect it. Gravity is like that. It's always there, quiet, steady, defining so much of what we experience as normal. If it vanished, the very ground beneath us wouldn't feel like ground anymore. Rivers would stop flowing, eventually turning into floating blobs of water. Mountains, without the constant downward pressure, might even start to crumble differently. Our entire perception of up and down, of stability, would vanish. This thought experiment, imagining gravity taking a break, helps us see how delicate and specific our reality is. We live in a world where these invisible forces are always at work, holding everything together in a way that allows life to exist, allows us to stand, jump, and run. If one of these core rules changed, even for a moment, what would that mean for what we call real? Would it still be the same world if the fundamental laws that govern it shifted? So, as you drift off to sleep, maybe consider the quiet power that holds you gently in your bed. Gravity, unseen, unthought of most times, is a testament to the incredible order and precision of the universe. It's a silent guardian, making sure that when you set your book down, it stays put. And realizing how much we rely on it, how much it shapes our every moment, can make the ordinary feel wonderfully profound. It reminds us that even the most basic parts of our world are woven together by amazing invisible threads. The unseen stuff all around us. Have you ever stopped to think about all the things that are really, truly there, even if you can't see them? Imagine standing in a room. You see the walls, the furniture, maybe a window. But what about the air you're breathing? You can't see it, but it's definitely there, filling every space. What about the Wi-Fi signals zipping around, letting your phone connect to the internet? They're invisible waves, yet they carry so much information. This idea, that a lot of what's real is actually unseen, has been on people's minds for a very long time. Thousands of years ago, before science as we know it, people often imagined unseen forces that made the wind blow or made rain fall. They believed in spirits or gods who lived in places we couldn't see, but whose actions shaped their world. They knew the wind was real because they felt it and saw trees sway, but they couldn't grasp it in their hands. They sensed that there was more to life than just what their eyes could show them. As humans started to explore the world with more than just their eyes, they began to understand some of these invisible things. Think about gravity. When you drop something, it falls. We don't see gravity, but we feel its pull every single second. Isaac Newton, a long time ago, watched an apple fall and realized there was an unseen force pulling it down. That force, gravity, is completely invisible, but it holds everything in the universe together, from apples on a tree to planets orbiting stars. It's one of the most powerful things there is, and we can't see it at all. And it's not just about science. What about your thoughts, your feelings? You can't physically point to your happiness or sadness. You can't touch a memory. But these things are incredibly real, aren't they? They shape who you are, how you act, and how you see the world. When you're dreaming, your brain creates an entire world, full of sights, sounds, and feelings. Even though your body is completely still in bed, that whole experience is happening inside your head, unseen by anyone else. It's a vivid reality, but it's entirely made of unseen stuff. So here's the thing. Much of what makes up our reality isn't something we can just look at, or touch, or hear with our ears. It's energy, it's forces, it's information, it's thoughts, and it's emotions. These unseen elements are just as real, and sometimes even more important, than the solid objects around us. They shape our experiences and explain how the world works. This thought can be quite calming. It means that reality is much bigger and more mysterious than we often assume. Our senses, while amazing, only pick up a small part of the picture, and that's okay. Knowing that there's so much more to reality than what meets the eye can make the world feel vast and full of quiet wonders. It reminds us that just because we can't see something doesn't mean it isn't profoundly true and deeply important. It's a quiet whisper that there's always more to discover, even in the stillness of night. Your brain, making up its own rules. Have you ever wondered if the world you see around you, right now, is exactly as it is? What if your own mind is shaping reality more than you think? It's a strange thought. But here's the thing. Your brain isn't just a camera. It doesn't just record what's out there. Instead, it's more like a storyteller, a painter, or a movie director. It takes in tiny bits of information, light, sounds, touches, and then it makes up its own rules to create the picture you see, the sounds you hear, and the world you feel. Think about it this way. When you look at something, your eyes send signals to your brain, but those signals are just raw data. It's your brain that pieces it all together. It fills in the gaps. It decides what's important and what's not. It predicts what should be there, based on what you already know. Sometimes, it even makes guesses, and those guesses become what you experience as real. A long time ago, in ancient Greece, a famous thinker named Plato had a very interesting idea about this. He imagined people chained in a deep cave, facing a wall. Behind them, a fire burned, and objects passed between the fire and the people. All the people could see were shadows dancing on the wall. They thought those shadows were the only real things in the world, because that's all they had ever known. They didn't know about the fire, or the actual objects, let alone the world outside the cave. In a way, Plato was asking, are we also just seeing shadows? Is what we call reality just a version our minds create from the limited information we get? This idea sounds deep, but you see it happen in everyday life. Remember the picture of that dress that went viral a few years ago. Some people saw it as blue and black. Other people saw it as white and gold. It was the exact same picture. So, what was going on? It wasn't the dress itself changing colors. It was your brain, and everyone else's brain, making different choices about how to interpret the light and colors in the image. Your brain was applying its own rules to make sense of what it saw. Here's another example. Have you ever been in a noisy room, like a busy cafeteria, and suddenly you hear your name called from across the room? Even with all the chatter, your brain somehow filters out the noise and picks out that one specific sound. It decides what to pay attention to, or think about optical illusions. These are pictures designed to trick your brain. Your brain tries to make sense of them, following its own rules about depth or perspective, and often it gets it wrong because the picture is set up that way. Your brain isn't trying to trick you, it's just trying to be efficient, making quick judgments based on its past experiences. Even when you dream, your brain is doing this. When you're asleep, your eyes are closed, and you're not really hearing much from the outside world. But your brain still builds entire worlds, creates people you know or don't know, and spins stories that feel completely real until you wake up. It's making up its own rules for reality, just for you, in that moment. So, as you think about reality, remember this. The world outside might be one thing, but the world inside, your head, is a unique creation. It's shaped by your incredible brain, constantly interpreting, predicting, and even inventing. It means your experience of the world is truly yours, a deeply personal story your brain tells you every single day. And that's not something to be scared of. It's truly amazing. A quiet reminder of the power within your own mind as you drift off to sleep. What if you're in someone else's dream? Have you ever woken up from a really vivid dream and wondered if any of it was real? What if that feeling, that deep question, goes even further? Imagine for a moment that your whole life, everything you see and touch and hear, isn't truly yours. What if it's all happening inside someone else's mind? This idea might sound strange, but it's been thought about for a very long time. It's like thinking about your own dreams, where you might see people and places that feel real, but they're just parts of your dream world. Now, flip that around. What if you are one of those characters in someone else's dream? This isn't about being in their nightmare or a fantasy. It's about the very reality you live in being a creation, a story unfolding inside another being's thoughts. It suggests that your world, with all its rules and people, exists because someone else is dreaming it into existence. You might just be a figment of their imagination, living out a complex storyline they've created. Ancient thinkers and storytellers have explored this idea for thousands of years. Thinkers in ancient India, for example, talked about Maya, which means illusion. They wondered if the world we see is just a grand illusion, like a dream, created by a higher power or universal mind. The famous Chinese philosopher Zhuangzi once dreamed he was a butterfly, fluttering happily. When he woke up, he wondered, was he Zhuangzi who had just dreamed he was a butterfly? Or was he a butterfly now dreaming he was Zhuangzi? This simple story makes you think about how easily our sense of what's real can be shaken. Even more recently, modern scientists and philosophers talk about simulation theory. That's the idea that our entire universe could be a computer simulation, like a super advanced video game. If it's a simulation, then the programmer or creator of that simulation is, in a way, dreaming us into existence. Their thoughts, their code, create our reality. Think about playing a video game where you control a character. You make that character move, decide what they say, and guide them through their world. For that character, their world is everything. They don't know there's a player. You, holding a controller and making all the choices. You are, in a sense, the dreamer of that character's world, creating their experiences as you play. Now, imagine if you were one of the characters in the game, and you started to wonder if your choices were truly your own, or if someone else was influencing them. That's a bit like what it would be if you were in someone else's dream. Or, think about a story you write. You create characters, a setting, and a plot. Your characters live out the story you've imagined. To them, their world is real. But it only exists because you, the author, thought it up. You are the dreamer of their reality. If our reality is someone else's dream, what does that mean for us? It means our existence, our feelings, our choices, are part of a larger story. Maybe it suggests that consciousness itself is vast and connected, like different parts of one huge dream. It could make you feel small, but it could also make you feel part of something incredibly grand and mysterious. This thought isn't meant to make you question every step you take, but to open your mind to the endless possibilities of existence. It's a quiet thought, a gentle whisper that perhaps the world is far more wondrous and less fixed than we often believe. It reminds us that our perception of reality, what we hold to be true, might just be one layer in an unimaginably deep and complex dream. And in that vast dream, every moment, every feeling, every connection is a unique and precious part of the unfolding story. This world as a picture still being painted. Have you ever looked at a painting that wasn't quite finished? Maybe it was a drawing, still in pencil, waiting for color, or a sculpture, with parts still rough and uncarved. It has a special feeling, doesn't it? A sense of possibility, of something, becoming. It's not fixed, not complete. It's still growing, still being made. Now, imagine our entire world, everything we see, touch, and feel, like that unfinished piece of art. What if reality itself is not a finished masterpiece, hung on a wall for all time, but rather a picture still being painted? This is an old, deep idea that some thinkers have wondered about for thousands of years, and even some modern scientists find themselves thinking this way today. Here's the thing. We often think of reality as solid and fixed. The floor beneath our feet, the sky above, the trees, the buildings, they all seem perfectly real and unchanging, like a photograph that's already developed. But what if that's not completely true? What if, on a deeper level, the world is always in motion, always adding new brushstrokes, always refining its colors and shapes? Think about how a story unfolds. When an author begins writing, They might have a general idea, but the details, the twists, the characters, they often reveal themselves as the story is being written. The story isn't done until the very last word. In the same way, some people believe our reality is still in the process of being written, or painted, or built. It's not a closed book, it's an open one, with pages still to come. This isn't about things just changing, like seasons turning or leaves falling. It's about a deeper kind of unfolding. It's about the very fabric of existence, maybe not being fully decided or solidified until it happens. It's a bit like a video game that gets constant updates. New levels appear, new characters are added, old bugs are fixed. The game world isn't static. It's constantly evolving, surprising its players. Or think about yourself. You are not a finished person. You are still growing, still learning, still experiencing new things that change who you are. The way you see the world today is different from how you saw it when you were a small child, and it will be different again when you are older. Your personal reality, your understanding of things, is constantly being painted, colored in by new experiences and thoughts. It's never truly done. Some ancient thinkers, like one from old Greece named Heraclitus, famously said you can never step into the same river twice, because the water is always flowing, always moving. The river changes even as you look at it. He was talking about everything, not just rivers. Everything is in a constant state of flux, always changing, always becoming something new. The idea that the world is a picture still being painted fits right into that thought. It means nothing is truly stagnant. Even in modern science, there are ideas that touch on this. In tiny, tiny parts of our world, like the particles that make up everything, scientists have found that things don't seem to be completely real or solid until we actually observe them. It's as if they are waiting for a final brushstroke to become clear. It's a mind-bending idea, but it suggests that the world might be more fluid, more alive with possibility than we usually imagine. So, if our world is truly a picture still being painted, what does that mean for us, lying here, thinking these thoughts? It means that everything around us holds a gentle mystery. It means that the world is not fixed in stone, but ever evolving, ever new. There is always space for change, always new colors to be added, new details to emerge. This isn't a scary thought. It's a calming one. It means that just like a painting always has room for a new stroke of color, our reality is full of endless possibilities, always unfolding, always becoming. And in that quiet, ongoing creation, we can find a deep sense of peace. Are numbers real or just ideas? Have you ever really stopped to think about numbers? We use them all the time. We count how many friends we have, how much money is in our pocket, or how many minutes until class ends. Numbers feel very real, don't they? We see them written down. We hear them spoken. We use them to build bridges and send rockets to space. But here's a quiet thought. Are numbers truly real things, out there in the world, like a tree or a rock? Or are they just ideas, things we made up in our minds to help us understand and describe the world around us? It's a strange question, because numbers seem so solid. But try to imagine the number 3 by itself. Not 3 apples, or 3 birds, or 3 cars, but just 3. Where is it? Can you pick it up? Can you see it without looking at something else that has 3 of them? It's hard, right? You can always see 3 of something, but the idea of 3 itself seems to float. This is where the deep thinking begins. Some very old thinkers, like a famous Greek philosopher named Plato, believed that numbers are real. He thought they existed in a perfect, unchanging world, a sort of idea world that was more real than our own. For Plato, a perfect circle, or the perfect number 5, existed completely in this other realm. The circles or groups of 5 we see in our everyday lives are just imperfect shadows or copies of these perfect forms. So, for him, numbers were very much real, just not in a way we could touch. They were like fundamental truths, always there, waiting for us to discover them. But other thinkers, through history and even today, see things differently. They believe numbers are more like a language we invented. Think about it. We created words to describe things. We say tree to describe a tall plant with branches, but the word tree itself isn't the plant. It's a sound and a symbol we use to communicate about the plant. Maybe numbers are like that too. We created the concept of two to describe when we have one item and then another. It's a handy tool, a powerful tool, but not something that physically exists on its own. Here's an example. Imagine you have two shoes. You can see and touch the shoes. Now, imagine you have two best friends. You can see and interact with your friends. In both cases, the two-ness is the same, but the shoes and the friends are very different things. The two is an idea that connects them, a way of counting or grouping them. It's a pattern we notice. So, is the two something truly out there, or is it a pattern our brains have recognized and named? Think about how we experience color. When you see a red apple, the apple isn't inside your eye. Light bounces off the apple, and your brain interprets that light as the color red. Red isn't a physical thing floating in the air. It's how your mind processes information. Numbers could be similar. They are our brain's way of making sense of quantities and patterns in the world, a way of organizing reality so we can understand it. So, when you count sheep to fall asleep, or think about how many days are left in the week, remember this quiet question. Are those numbers solid parts of the universe, or are they elegant ideas spun from the human mind? It's okay not to have a clear answer. The beauty of this thought is not in finding a definite yes or no, but in gently wondering about the deep layers of reality. It shows us that even the simplest things, like counting, can hold big mysteries. It reminds us that maybe reality isn't just about what we can touch and see, but also about the powerful thoughts and concepts we hold in our minds. It's a gentle thought to let settle as you drift away. When your mind drifts away, have you ever been sitting in class, maybe listening to a teacher, and then suddenly you realize you haven't really heard a word they've said for the last few minutes? Your eyes might be focused on the board, but your thoughts are somewhere else entirely. Maybe you're thinking about what you'll have for dinner, or a funny thing your friend said, or even just some random image that popped into your head. That feeling? That's when your mind drifts away. It's a quiet, everyday kind of magic trick your brain plays. You're awake, but you're not fully present in the room you're in. It's like your mind decides to take a little trip, all on its own. The world around you becomes a bit fuzzy, less solid. The sounds might fade, and the things you see might not really register. Instead, a whole other world opens up inside your head. This inner world, made of memories, ideas, and daydreams, can feel more real, more colorful, more important than what's actually happening around you. For a long, long time, thinkers and philosophers have been curious about this. Back in ancient Greece, and even more so in places like India, people spent a lot of time thinking about how our minds work. They weren't using fancy brain scanners, but they noticed something important. Our minds don't just record what's happening like a video camera. Instead, our minds are more like artists. They take all the bits of information from our senses, what we see, hear, touch, smell, taste, and then they paint a picture, a story, inside our heads. This picture is what we call reality. So here's the thing. If our minds are the artists, what happens when the artist gets distracted? When your mind drifts, it's not ignoring the outside world because it's broken. It's just shifting its focus. Instead of painting the world outside, it starts painting its own thoughts and feelings. This makes us wonder if the real world we experience every day is truly separate from our minds, or if our minds are always creating it. Think about it like this. Have you ever been in a car, maybe on a long drive, and you suddenly realize you don't remember seeing the last few exits, or even the last 10 minutes of the road? Your body was driving, your eyes were open, but your mind was elsewhere. You were safe, you were moving forward, but your conscious attention wasn't on the road. It was lost in thought, planning, remembering, or just free associating. That's a perfect example of your mind drifting. The physical reality of the road was there, but your experience of it was interrupted by your inner world. Science actually has a name for parts of your brain that are very active when your mind drifts like this. It's called the default mode network. That's just a simple name for the brain areas that switch on when you're not focused on a specific task. When you're daydreaming, remembering old times, or imagining the future, this network is busy. It's almost like your brain has an autopilot or a contemplation mode, where it just thinks about things internally without needing outside input. And when this mode is on, the external world can feel less real, less urgent, because your brain is busy processing its own internal landscape. So, when your mind wanders, it's not a sign that something is wrong. In fact, it's a powerful reminder of how amazing and active your brain is. It shows us that what we call reality isn't always a fixed thing. It can be a bit fluid, shifting depending on where our attention is. Sometimes, the most real place we can be is inside our own thoughts, even if it makes the world outside feel a little less solid for a moment. It makes you think, if our minds can make the world fade just by drifting, how much of what we experience as real is actually just our own mind putting it all together? It's a gentle puzzle to ponder as the world around you softly blurs and your thoughts float free. That feeling of being watched. Have you ever been completely alone, maybe in your room at night, and suddenly felt a strange shiver down your spine, like someone or something was watching you? No one was there. You checked. But that feeling, that prickle on your neck, it felt so real. It's a common experience. This sense of unseen eyes upon you, even when logic tells you it's impossible. Here's the thing. Our brains are always working to keep us safe. They're like super sensitive radar systems, constantly scanning our surroundings for anything out of the ordinary. This feeling of being watched, sometimes called scopophobia, if it's a strong fear, or just the staring effect, is often our brain working overtime. It's trying to make sense of tiny clues we don't even consciously notice. Maybe it was a creak in the floorboards from the house settling, or a shadow from a car passing outside, or just the quiet hum of the refrigerator. Our brain picks up on these small things and, in its effort to protect us, sometimes interprets them as a presence. Think about it like this. Our brains are really good at seeing patterns and making connections. Sometimes, they see a pattern or a threat where there isn't one. It's like when you look at clouds and see shapes of animals, or when you notice a face in a crumpled shirt. Your brain is trying to give meaning to random things. When it comes to feeling watched, this sensation can be our brain's way of being extra cautious, a leftover instinct from a time when being alert to hidden dangers was crucial for survival. It's part of our internal survival kit that hasn't quite gotten updated for modern life. Throughout history, people have tried to explain this mysterious feeling. Before we understood much about how the brain worked, folks might have believed it was spirits, or unseen guardians, or perhaps even mischievous creatures playing tricks. Many cultures have old stories about unseen beings or energies that watch over us, or sometimes from afar. This shows how universal the feeling is. It's a very old human experience to wonder about invisible presences. It makes us question what's real and what's not, especially if our own senses can trick us so easily. And that's why it matters when we talk about reality. If our own powerful brains can create such a strong sensation of being watched, when there's nothing actually there, what else might they be doing? Could other parts of our everyday reality also be shaped by our brains in ways we don't even fully realize? It makes you wonder, how much of what we experience as real is actually just our brain's best guess, its interpretation of the world, rather than exactly how things truly are? This quiet, unsettling feeling, even if it's just our mind playing tricks, reminds us that our brain is an incredible, complex thing. It's constantly building the world around us from the bits and pieces it collects. It shows us that reality isn't always as simple and solid as it seems. Sometimes, the most interesting parts of reality are the ones that happen inside our own heads, in that space between what's actually there and what we feel. It's a quiet mystery, one that can stay with us even as we close our eyes, making us wonder about the hidden layers of the world and of ourselves. Is the future already set? Have you ever wondered if the choices you make each day are truly your choices? Or is everything already decided, like a story written long before you were born? This is a thought that has puzzled people for a very long time. It can feel a little strange to think about, but it's a big question about how our reality might work. Some people believe the future is already set. This idea is called determinism. It suggests that every single thing that happens, from the smallest leaf falling to the biggest decisions we make, is just the natural outcome of what happened before it. Think of it like a long chain reaction. One event causes the next, and that event causes the next, in a never-ending line of cause and effect. So, if you knew everything about the universe at one exact moment, you could, in theory, predict everything that would happen afterward. It's like watching a movie that's already been filmed. We're just seeing it play out. This isn't a new idea. Way back, ancient thinkers in places like Greece talked about fate. They believed that a powerful force, or even gods, had a plan for everything, and you couldn't change it no matter what you did. Later on, when scientists like Isaac Newton discovered the laws of how things move and interact in the physical world, how planets orbit the sun, or how an apple falls from a tree, some people started to think that maybe everything follows these kinds of strict, predictable rules. If you can predict where a ball will land after you throw it, because of physics, then maybe all actions, even human actions, are just following equally strict, though more complex, rules. Here's an example to help make it clearer. Imagine a long line of dominoes set up perfectly. When the very first domino falls, it pushes the next one, which pushes the next, and so on. Each domino falling isn't making a choice to fall. Its movement is simply the direct result of the domino before it hitting it. The entire sequence, from the first push to the last domino falling, is determined from the very start. Now, imagine the whole universe works like those dominoes. Every event, every person, every thought is just part of this huge, unbroken chain of cause and effect, going all the way back to the very beginning of time. So, your decision to pick a certain outfit today, or to read this script, might just be the result of brain signals firing, which were caused by your experiences, which were caused by past events, and so on all the way back. This can be a really deep thought. If everything is already set, does it mean our efforts don't matter? Does it mean we're just actors in a play where the script is already finished? But here's the thing. Even if the future were somehow already determined, we still feel like we're making choices. We still experience life as if we are deciding our path. We still feel hope, fear, joy, and sadness. We still try our best, learn from our mistakes, and dream about what's next. Perhaps the important part isn't whether it's truly set or not, but how we experience the journey. The mystery of it can be comforting in its own way. It might mean we don't need to carry the heavy burden of every single choice, knowing that in some way, the path is already there. We just get to walk it, moment by beautiful moment, living out whatever story is unfolding. And that can bring a sense of calm. Could we be inside a simulation? Have you ever played a video game that felt incredibly real? Maybe you got so lost in the world that you almost forgot about your living room, or your friends cheering beside you. Now, picture a game so advanced, so detailed, that you couldn't tell the difference between what's happening on the screen and what's happening outside your window. Here's a thought. What if our entire world, everything we see, hear, and feel, is actually like that? What if we are living inside a giant computer simulation? This idea is called the simulation hypothesis. It suggests that our reality might not be physically real in the way we usually think. Instead, it could be a highly advanced program running on a super powerful computer, created by someone or something far more advanced than us. Think of it like this. A simulation is basically a made-up world that acts exactly like a real one. It has rules, characters, and events, all controlled by lines of code. For a long, long time, people have wondered about the nature of reality. Back in ancient Greece, smart thinkers asked if what we see is really all there is. Later, in the 1600s, a thinker named René Descartes worried that an evil genius might be tricking him, making him believe things that weren't real. That's kind of like an early version of the simulation idea. But here's the thing. With modern computers, this old question feels a lot more possible. We can make virtual worlds, so why couldn't a super advanced civilization make one so good we'd live inside it without knowing? Imagine playing a game like Minecraft or Roblox. You build things, explore, and interact with other players. Now, imagine a version of that game where the details are so perfect, the people inside the game think they are real humans, living real lives, Having real feelings, every blade of grass, every cloud in the sky, every emotion you feel when you laugh or are sad, could just be a very complex part of the program. This might sound wild, but some scientists and philosophers actually believe this is a real possibility. They think that if civilizations get advanced enough, they would likely create many such simulations, and it's more probable that we are in one of them than in the base reality. So, if we are in a simulation, what does that mean for us? Does it change anything about your homework, or your friendships, or the dreams you have for the future? Maybe not. Maybe the beauty of a sunset, the joy of a good joke, or the comfort of a warm bed are still just as real and important to you. Even if our world is a simulation, the feelings we have and the choices we make are still deeply our own. We can still find wonder in the world and connection with each other. Perhaps the most important thing is not whether we are in a simulation, but how we choose to live our lives within it, to explore its possibilities, and to find meaning in every moment, no matter where those moments truly exist. The idea that nothing is really solid, have you ever really thought about what solid means? I mean, you're probably sitting on something right now, or maybe your feet are resting on the floor. It feels totally real, totally solid, like you can't just pass your hand right through it. You can lean on a wall, hold a book, or kick a ball, and they all feel very much there. But what if that feeling of solidness is not exactly what it seems? What if, at its deepest level, nothing is truly solid? Here's the thing about everything around us, and even you. If you could zoom in, closer than any microscope can go, you'd find that everything is made of tiny, tiny pieces called atoms. Imagine these atoms as miniature solar systems. In the very middle, there's a small, dense nucleus, like a tiny sun, and way, way out from that nucleus, even further than Jupiter is from our sun, there are even tinier particles called electrons whizzing around. So, picture this. Most of an atom is just empty space. There's the nucleus, then a huge amount of nothing, then the electrons. It's like a vast, empty stadium with a tiny pebble in the center, and a few grains of sand orbiting miles away. Because atoms are mostly empty space, it means that everything made of atoms, which is, well, everything is also mostly empty space. Your desk, your clothes, even your own body, are almost entirely made of nothing. So, if everything is mostly empty space, why do things feel so solid? Why don't our hands just pass through walls? It's because of those tiny electrons. When you try to touch something, the electrons in your hand get incredibly close to the electrons in the object you're touching. Now, electrons have a negative electric charge, and particles with the same charge push each other away. Think about two magnets. If you try to push the same sides together, they push away, right? You can feel that push, that force, even though the magnets aren't actually touching. Well, in a way, that's what's happening all the time. The electrons in your hand are repelling the electrons in the desk. This creates a powerful, invisible force that stops your hand from going through. Your brain then translates this force, this powerful pushback, into the sensation we call touch, or solidity. It's not that your atoms are physically hitting the desk's atoms in a solid way. It's more like a powerful, invisible electric fence that keeps them apart. People have wondered about what makes up the world for a very long time. Thousands of years ago, smart thinkers in ancient Greece tried to figure out the smallest bits of stuff. They guessed there were tiny, unbreakable particles, and they called them atoms, which means uncuttable. They were pretty close, but they probably never imagined that these tiny particles would be mostly empty space, or that the feeling of solidness was really just a dance of invisible forces. It took modern science, with very advanced tools and clever experiments, to really peek into the heart of matter and see this amazing truth. It's a quiet thought, isn't it? That the very ground beneath you, the chair you sit on, even your own hand, is mostly empty space, buzzing with invisible energy. It's not a trick or something to be afraid of. It's just how the universe works on a super tiny level. This understanding doesn't make things less real, but it does make reality feel a little more mysterious, a little more wondrous. It can make you feel calm to think that even the most solid things are full of vast, open spaces, and that everything is moving and vibrating with hidden life, a gentle hum of forces. Maybe it helps you relax, knowing that even your bed, which feels so firm, is really a cloud of distant particles, ready for you to float into dreams. What if everything is just energy? Imagine you're looking at your hand right now. It feels solid, right? You can touch it. You can move it. It seems very real and very much there. But what if that feeling of solidness is just a trick of our minds? What if your hand, the chair you're sitting on, the air you breathe, and even your thoughts are all just different forms of energy? This idea might sound a little strange, like something from a science fiction movie. But here's the thing. For a long time, thinkers and scientists have wondered about the most basic stuff everything is made of. Thousands of years ago, some ancient thinkers in places like Greece and India already had ideas that everything might be made of tiny, moving bits, or even just one flowing force. They didn't have the science we have today, but their curious minds led them to similar thoughts. Fast forward to modern science, and we find something amazing. When scientists look really closely at anything, a piece of wood, a drop of water, even a rock, they find it's not solid in the way we usually think. Instead, everything is made of tiny particles called atoms. And these atoms aren't like little hard balls. They are mostly empty space, with even tinier parts inside them, like electrons, protons, and neutrons, all whizzing around incredibly fast. Think about a buzzing bee. When it flies really fast, it might look like a blurry streak. Or imagine a fan blade spinning at top speed. It looks like a solid disk, but you know it's just thin blades moving quickly through the air. Our everyday world is a bit like that. What seems solid to us is actually a huge collection of tiny particles vibrating, moving, and interacting at speeds we can't normally see or feel. And here's what science tells us about those tiny particles. They are essentially made of energy. Everything is constantly vibrating at different speeds. The difference between a solid table, liquid water, and invisible air isn't about what they're made of, but how fast their energy is vibrating and how those vibrations are organized. A table is just energy vibrating at a very slow, tight pattern. Water is energy vibrating a bit faster and looser. Air is energy vibrating very fast and spread out. Even famous scientists like Albert Einstein came to this conclusion. His famous equation, E mx E², tells us that energy, E, and mass, m, are actually two sides of the same coin. Mass, which is what we think of as stuff or matter, can be turned into energy, and energy can be turned into mass. This means the stuff that makes up our world, our bodies, the stars, everything. It's all just energy in different forms, constantly flowing and changing. So, if everything is just energy, what about our thoughts and feelings? They're also forms of energy. When you have an idea or feel an emotion like happiness or sadness, it's like an electrical current, a specific pattern of energy happening in your brain. These patterns are just as real as a solid object, even if you can't touch them with your hand. This way of seeing things can be very calming. If the world around us, and even we ourselves, are just shifting patterns of energy, then nothing is truly fixed or separate. We are all connected by this underlying flow. The boundaries between me and you, or me and the world, start to blur. Everything is part of one vast, vibrating, beautiful dance. When you understand this, it can make the world feel a little less rigid and a little more alive. It's like realizing that the sturdy river you see is actually countless drops of water, all moving and flowing together. And just like those water drops, we are all part of something much bigger, a gentle, unending hum of energy that makes up everything we know and everything we don't. It's a quiet truth that can bring a sense of deep peace. The feeling you're in control, maybe not. Have you ever stopped to think about how much control you really have? Like when you choose what to wear in the morning, or what to eat for lunch. It feels like you're totally in charge, right? You make the call. You decide. But what if that feeling of control isn't always as strong as it seems? What if there are forces, hidden or quiet, that guide our choices more than we realize? This idea has puzzled thinkers for thousands of years. It's called Free will. The power to make your own choices freely, without being forced by anything else. And then there's determinism, which is the idea that everything that happens, including our choices, is actually already set in motion by things that came before. It's like a long chain of cause and effect. Think about the ancient Greeks. They had stories about fate, where even gods couldn't change what was meant to happen. Or in different cultures, people believed in destiny, a path laid out for you from birth. These were ways of trying to understand if we truly steer our own ship, or if something bigger is at the helm. Now, fast forward to today, and science adds even more layers to this puzzle. Our brains are incredibly complex. They're made of chemicals and tiny electrical signals. Our genes, passed down from our parents, play a role in who we are. The environment we grow up in, our family, our school, our friends, even the books we read, all these things shape us. They influence how we think, what we like, and even the choices we feel we're making. Imagine you're scrolling through social media. You see a new video game or a cool pair of sneakers. You suddenly feel like you really want it. Did you freely decide that desire? Or did a powerful advertisement, designed by experts, plant that want in your mind? It feels like your choice, but maybe it was a cleverly created push from someone else. Or think about a simpler example. You reach for a cookie. You feel like you chose that cookie, but maybe you're just hungry. And maybe your brain, remembering how good cookies taste, sends signals that make you crave it before you even decide to pick it up. Scientists have even done experiments showing that our brains sometimes start preparing for an action, like pressing a button, a tiny fraction of a second before we become aware that we've decided to press it. It's like your brain is already on its way, and your conscious "I choose" thought comes along for the ride. This isn't to say we're just robots acting out programs. It's more about understanding the many, many influences that make us who we are and shape what we do. Our experiences, our memories, our emotions, they all mix together to create what we call our self. And that self then interacts with the world, making choices that feel completely our own. So, if our choices are influenced by so much, does it mean we're not truly in control? Not necessarily. It just means that the idea of control might be more complex, more beautiful than we first thought. Instead of a single switch we flip, it's more like a vast, flowing river. We are part of that river, shaped by its currents, but we also contribute to its flow. Thinking about this can be a quiet, thoughtful thing. It can help us understand ourselves better, and maybe even understand others with more kindness. When someone does something we don't understand, perhaps it's not just a bad choice, but a choice shaped by many things we don't see. And in this deeper understanding, there can be a strange kind of peace. We don't have to carry the full weight of being completely, solely responsible for every tiny detail. We can relax into the flow of things, knowing that we are both unique individuals and also part of a much larger, interconnected world. It's a mystery, yes, but one that can help us drift into sleep, wondering gently about the nature of our own minds and the beautiful, complex reality we live in. Are your thoughts truly yours? Have you ever just stopped, maybe while staring out a window, and wondered where your thoughts actually come from? Like, are they completely, totally yours, every single one of them? Or do they just sort of pop into your head from somewhere else? This might sound like a strange question. Of course, they're your thoughts, right? They're in your head. But here's the thing. Sometimes, what we think feels like it came from us, but it really started somewhere else. It's like our minds are sponges, soaking up ideas and opinions from all around us without us even noticing. People have wondered about this for a very long time. Thousands of years ago, thinkers would sit and ponder if the voice in their head was truly their own, or if it was a whisper from something outside themselves, maybe even the gods. Later, philosophers like René Descartes, who lived a long, long time ago, thought about how we can be sure of anything. He famously said, "I think, therefore I am." This meant he believed the very act of thinking proved he existed. But even he wrestled with the idea of what "I" truly means, and how much of our thinking is really us versus what the world puts into our heads. Today, we don't usually think it's God's whispering, but we do understand how much the world shapes us. Think about this. You're scrolling online, and suddenly you really want a new pair of sneakers you saw in an ad. Did you truly decide you needed them? Or did that image, those words, put the idea in your head? It's like someone planted a tiny seed, and your brain made it grow into a thought you believe is yours. Or imagine your friends are all excited about a new movie. You might find yourself feeling excited too, even if you haven't seen it, and even if it's not usually your kind of movie. That feeling, that thought of, I should really see that, might not be purely from you. It's a shared idea, a group thought that found its way into your mind. Even simpler things. You hear a catchy song on the radio. Later, you're walking, and the song is playing in your head. You didn't choose to think of it. It just showed up. Your mind grabbed it from outside. Science also shows us how our thoughts can be influenced. Sometimes, when you're super tired or really hungry, your brain might make you think in ways you wouldn't normally. You might feel irritable or grumpy, and your thoughts become critical. Are those thoughts truly you? Or are they just your brain reacting to low energy or a lack of food? It's like your physical state has a direct line to your mind, shaping what pops up. Also, think about how we grow up. The stories we hear, the rules we learn, the things our families and communities believe. These all build a kind of thought framework in our minds. We might think something is true or right because that's what we've always been taught, not because we deeply thought it through ourselves. This isn't a bad thing. It's how we learn and fit into the world. But it does mean some of our most basic ideas might have been given to us rather than totally invented by us. So, when we ask if our thoughts are truly ours, it's not about saying you're just a puppet. It's about realizing how connected we are to everything around us. Our minds are amazing filters and creators, but they also absorb. Understanding this can be really peaceful. It means you can start to notice which thoughts are truly from your deepest self, and which ones are just echoes from the world. It lets you gently question things, not in a scary way, but in a curious way. It's about gaining a little more awareness about the incredible, complex journey of your own mind. And maybe, in that quiet awareness, you find a deeper sense of who you really are. The mystery of sleepwalking and what it means. Have you ever woken up in a strange part of your house, not quite remembering how you got there? Or maybe you've heard stories about someone walking, talking, or even eating while they were totally asleep. It's a curious thought, isn't it? What if your body could move through the world, doing things, while your mind was completely absent, lost in the deep quiet of sleep? This strange state is called sleepwalking. Doctors might call it somnambulism, but it's really just what it sounds like. Walking while you're asleep. It's not like dreaming, where your mind creates its own world inside your head. When someone sleepwalks, their body is actually up and moving in the real world. They might walk downstairs, open doors, or even try to get dressed. But here's the thing. They are deeply, truly asleep the whole time. Their eyes might be open, but they don't see in the same way we do when we're awake. Their mind is not there to process what's happening. It's like a puppet moving without a puppeteer, or a car driving itself with no one behind the wheel. For a long, long time, people didn't understand sleepwalking at all. Imagine living thousands of years ago, without science, to explain how the brain works. If you saw someone walking around in the middle of the night, eyes glazed over, doing strange things, what would you think? Many cultures believed it was spirits taking over a person's body. Some thought it was magic, or maybe a curse. They couldn't explain how a person could be both present in the world and completely absent from it at the same time. This idea connects to how we see reality. If someone's body is moving through a real room, but their conscious mind isn't there, is that room truly real to them? It makes you wonder what being real even means. Think about it like this. Your brain is a complicated machine with lots of different parts. When you're awake, most of those parts are working together. You see, you hear, you think, you move, and you remember. But when you sleep, some parts of your brain go totally offline to rest. For a sleepwalker, the part of their brain that controls movement and basic actions is still kind of awake. It's like a dimmer switch for a light. But instead of dimming the whole room, some lights stay bright, while others turn completely off. So, the moving part of their brain is on, but the thinking and remembering parts are totally snoozing. It's a bit like when you're riding in a car on a long trip. You might doze off, but your body is still sitting upright. You might even hear bits of conversations or feel the car turn, but you're not really aware of it. You're not thinking, oh, we just passed that red barn. You're just kind of there. Sleepwalking takes that feeling to a whole new level. It shows us that our bodies can interact with the physical world even when our conscious self isn't home. So, if your body is touching a wall, walking on the floor, but you are not there to experience it, how real is that experience? Whose reality is it? This mystery of sleepwalking reminds us that reality isn't always as simple as it seems. It's not just about what we can see or touch when we're wide awake. It's also about how our minds interpret and connect with the world around us. And sometimes, our minds are in a different place, even when our bodies are still here. It shows us how fragile our connection to being present can be, and makes us quietly wonder what else is happening in the world, or within ourselves, that we don't even know about. The boundary between being awake and being truly, deeply asleep is far more blurry than we often imagine. And in that blur, reality itself can feel a little less solid, a little more like a whispered secret. What if there's no you at all? Have you ever stopped to wonder about the you reading these words? Not your body, not your name, not your memories, but the actual you that feels like it's inside, watching and thinking? We all feel like we have this solid, unchanging self, this central person who is always there, no matter what happens. But what if that feeling is like a trick your brain plays? What if there's no fixed you at all? This idea might sound a bit strange, even a little scary. It doesn't mean you don't exist. It just means the way you exist might be different than you imagine. Think about it like this. Your body changes all the time. Cells die and new ones are born. Your thoughts change. Your feelings come and go. One minute you're happy, the next you're tired. Your opinions on things shift as you learn and grow. If everything about you keeps changing, what is the part that stays the same? What is the core you that always remains? For thousands of years, people in different parts of the world, like ancient philosophers in Asia and Europe, have thought about this. Some of them came to a surprising idea. Maybe there isn't a fixed self that sits inside us like a tiny person pulling the strings. Instead, what we call you might just be a collection of experiences, thoughts, feelings, and actions that are constantly moving and changing. It's like a story your brain tells itself, a way to make sense of everything happening around you and inside you. Here's an idea that might help it make sense. Think about a river. We give a river a name, like the Mississippi River. We say, that's the Mississippi River. But is it ever really the same river? The water in it is always flowing. New water comes in, old water goes out. The banks might change a little over time, yet we still call it the Mississippi River. We treat it like one continuous thing, even though its parts are always different. Your self might be like that river. You are always flowing, always changing, but your brain creates the idea of a continuous you to help you navigate the world. Or think about a movie. A movie feels like one whole story, right? But what is it really? It's just a series of pictures, sounds, and moments strung together really fast. If you take away one scene or one sound, the movie still mostly exists. But it's a little different. Yourself could be like that movie. A collection of countless moments, memories, feelings, and actions that, when played together, create the story of you. There isn't one special scene that is the real movie, separate from all the others. The movie is the collection of all those parts. So, if there's no fixed you at all, does that matter? It can actually be a very freeing idea. It means you aren't stuck being one way forever. You aren't permanently defined by your past mistakes or even your past successes. You are always becoming something new. It means you have the power to grow and shift and learn without carrying the heavy idea of a fixed self that you have to be. It suggests that who you are is an ongoing process, a continuous unfolding of moments and experiences. And maybe, in that constant change, there is a deep sense of peace. You are not a solid statue, but a flowing river, always moving, always new, always connected to everything around you. The world as a play on a stage. Have you ever stopped and wondered if your whole life, everything you do and say, feels a little like a performance? Like you're on a stage and the world is your audience, or maybe even the other actors in a giant play. It's a strange thought, but it's one that people have been thinking about for thousands of years. It's like this. What if reality isn't just a solid, fixed thing, but more like a theater production, and all of us are playing parts? Think about it this way. When you go to a play, actors dress up, speak lines from a script, and act out emotions. They aren't truly the characters they're playing, but for the time they are on stage, they become them. What if our daily lives are a lot like that? We wake up, we put on our clothes, which are kind of like costumes, and then we go out into the world and interact with others. We behave in certain ways depending on who we're with and where we are. These different behaviors are like the roles we play. A very famous writer named William Shakespeare, who lived hundreds of years ago, once wrote, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." This wasn't just a nice poem, it was a deep idea, suggesting that our lives are a series of entrances and exits, with each person playing many different parts throughout their life. From when we are tiny babies, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, to when we grow old and forgetful, we are always performing, always taking on new roles. Philosophers, people who think deeply about life and the world, have also explored this idea. They've asked, are we ever truly ourselves, or are we always wearing some kind of mask, playing some kind of part for others? When you're at school, for example, you might play the role of the student. You raise your hand, you listen to your teachers, you try to get good grades. You behave a certain way. But then, when you're with your best friends, you might be totally different. Maybe louder, sillier, more relaxed. You're playing the friend role. And at home, with your family, you might be yet another version of yourself, taking on the son or daughter or sibling role. Each of these roles comes with its own set of rules, its own expected script for how you act and what you say. When you're playing a sport, you take on the athlete role, focusing on the game, being competitive. When you're helping someone younger, you might play the responsible helper role. It's not that you're being fake in any of these situations. It's more that you adapt, you change, almost like a chameleon changing its color to fit its surroundings. These changes are so natural, we hardly even notice them. But if you stop and think about it, you can see how you shift from one character to another throughout your day. So, if we are always playing different parts, what does that mean for who we really are? Is there a true you underneath all these roles? Or is the real you just the sum of all the different parts you play? This thought isn't meant to be scary or confusing. Instead, it's a calm way to wonder about your own identity and the nature of the world around you. It makes you consider that maybe reality isn't as solid and fixed as it seems. Perhaps it's more flexible, more fluid, like a play that's constantly changing, with you as one of its most important, ever-evolving characters. It's a gentle reminder that what we experience might be just one version of a much larger, unspoken story. Are aliens just future versions of us? Imagine looking at an old photograph of your great-great-great-grandparents. They might look a little different, dress in ways you don't see today, maybe even seem like they're from another time. Now, stretch that idea, not just across a few generations, but across thousands, even millions of years. What if the beings we sometimes call aliens aren't from faraway planets at all, but are actually our very distant descendants, returning to visit us from humanity's far future? This idea is pretty mind-bending, right? It suggests that the strange craft seen in the sky, or the mysterious figures described in old stories, might not be visitors from a galaxy far, far away. Instead, they could be humans who have evolved, changed, and developed technology far beyond anything we can dream of today. Think about how much humans have changed in just the last few thousand years. We've grown taller, our diets are different, and our understanding of the world has exploded. Now, imagine what 1,000,000 years of change could do. Over incredibly long periods of time, life forms on Earth evolve. This is a scientific fact. We know that fish developed into amphibians, then reptiles, and eventually mammals. Humans themselves evolved from earlier forms of life. So, it's not a huge leap to imagine that humanity will continue to change. Our bodies might adapt to new environments, or our brains might grow in ways we can't predict. Our technology would surely advance to incredible levels. Maybe our descendants learn to travel through time, or even bend reality in ways that look like magic to us. Think about it like this. If you could take a modern smartphone and show it to someone living in the year 1700, they wouldn't understand it. They might think it was some kind of magical device, or an object from another world entirely. They'd have no concept of microchips, Wi-Fi, or global communication. Their language wouldn't even have words for these things. To them, you, with your glowing screen and instant knowledge, would seem like an alien. You're still human, but your world and your tools are so incredibly advanced that you'd appear otherworldly. Now, flip that around. Our future descendants, perhaps having lived for countless centuries with technologies we can't even begin to imagine, might appear just as strange and incomprehensible to us. Their bodies might be adapted to space travel, or they might have developed ways to communicate directly with thoughts. Their ships could look unlike anything we've ever built, perhaps because they don't even use the same laws of physics we understand. This idea has been explored in science fiction stories for a long time. Writers and thinkers have often wondered about humanity's destiny. Will we stay on Earth? Will we spread among the stars? And what will we become when we get there? This concept offers a comforting thought in some ways. It means we might not be alone in the universe, but that the others are actually part of our own family tree, just way, way down the line. It makes the vast, lonely stretches of space feel a little less empty, hinting that maybe, just maybe, the answers to some of our biggest questions are actually found in our own distant future. It's a gentle reminder that the journey of humanity is far from over, and what lies ahead for us might be stranger and more wonderful than we can ever imagine. That calm before you fall asleep. You know that feeling, right? When you're lying in your bed at the end of a long day. Your body is tired, but your mind is still kind of buzzing. The room is dark, or maybe just dimly lit. The sounds of the house quiet down. It's that in-between time, right before you actually fall asleep. That calm, quiet space where the day feels like it's slowly fading away. This moment, this peaceful quiet, is actually a really interesting time for your brain. It's not fully awake anymore, but it's not yet fully asleep. It's like being in a hallway between two very different rooms. And in this hallway, reality can sometimes feel a little bit stretchy, a bit less solid than it does when you're wide awake and out in the world. Think about it. When you're just about to drift off, maybe you see shapes behind your eyelids, or you hear a faint whisper that isn't really there. Maybe you feel like you're floating, or falling. These aren't just random thoughts. This is your brain doing something amazing. It's entering what some scientists call the hypnagogic state. But don't worry about the big word. It just means that special time when you're half awake, half asleep. And in this state, the lines between what's real and what's imagined can get wonderfully blurry. For a long, long time, people have wondered about this. Way back, even ancient people thought dreams were like special messages from another world, or from spirits. They believed that when you slept, your mind went somewhere else. And that place might be just as real, or even more real, than the place you were when you were awake. So, the idea that reality isn't always what it seems, especially when you're in that sleepy state, isn't new at all. It's something humans have been curious about for thousands of years. Here's the thing. When you're awake, your brain is like a super organized detective. It's constantly taking in information from your eyes, ears, nose, and skin. It pieces all that stuff together to build a picture of the world around you. It tells you, that's a chair. That's a dog barking. That's the smell of dinner. It works hard to keep your reality very clear and predictable. But as you get sleepy, this super organized detective starts to clock out. It doesn't shut down completely, but it starts to relax its rules. The information coming in from your senses might not be as sharp. Your brain doesn't try as hard to make perfect sense of everything. It's like turning down the brightness on a screen. Things get softer, fuzzier, and that's why weird stuff can happen. Have you ever been lying there, and you hear your name called, but no one is there? Or you see a flash of light, even though your eyes are closed. Your brain isn't getting clear signals anymore. So, it starts to fill in the gaps with its own ideas, its own memories, or even just random bits of noise and light. It's like when you're trying to watch a video with bad Wi-Fi. It buffers, it glitches, and sometimes it just shows you blurry pixels that aren't the actual picture. Your brain does something similar, but with your entire world. This doesn't mean you're imagining things or that something is wrong. Not at all. It just shows how much your brain works to create your reality. It shows that your perception, how you experience the world, isn't always a perfect copy of what's out there. It's a version made by your brain. And in that sleepy calm, your brain's version gets a little more creative. It gets a little more open to possibilities. So, the next time you're lying there, feeling that quiet calm before sleep takes over, just notice it. Notice how your room feels different in the dark. How sounds seem to echo a bit more. How your thoughts drift and float, maybe showing you images that aren't quite real. It's a gentle reminder that reality, the world we think we know, isn't always as solid as we believe. It's always being put together by our own minds, moment by moment. And sometimes, in that peaceful quiet before sleep, our minds get to play with the edges of what's real. It's a soft way of learning that the universe, and our place in it, might be far stranger and more wonderful than we usually let ourselves imagine. It's just your mind getting ready for its nightly adventures, showing you a glimpse of how flexible reality can be. And that's okay. It can even be a bit comforting, knowing that the world isn't just one fixed thing, but something that gently shifts with you as you drift off. How your mind fills in the missing parts. Have you ever stopped to wonder how you see the world? Not just what your eyes gather, but how your brain takes all that information and makes a picture you can understand? It's a bit like a detective trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. Here's the thing. Your mind doesn't just show you what's there. It actually builds your reality, filling in all the gaps. Think about it this way. When light hits your eyes, it sends signals to your brain. But those signals are not a perfect, complete picture. There are parts of the world your eyes simply can't see, or parts that are unclear. So, your brain doesn't just give up. Instead, it gets to work. It takes the pieces it has, adds in what it expects to see based on everything you've learned before, and then creates a whole picture for you. It does this super fast, all the time, without you even realizing it. This ability helps you make sense of things quickly and safely navigate the world. For a long, long time, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers wondered if what we experience as real is truly out there, or if it's mostly something we create inside our heads. It's like imagining a person in a dark cave, only able to see shadows on a wall. Those shadows might seem real, but they are just reflections of something else. In a way, our minds work a bit like that. They take what little information they get and make the best guess they can, creating a kind of shadow play of reality for us. So, here's what happens inside your head. You have a blind spot in each eye. Everyone does. It's a tiny spot where the nerve connects to your eye, and there are no light-sensing cells there. So, you literally cannot see anything at that specific point. But do you walk around with a blank spot in your vision? No, you don't. Your brain automatically fills in that missing bit. It looks at the colors and patterns around the blind spot and just paints in what it expects to be there. You never even notice the gap. It's like a super smart art restorer, fixing a painting perfectly without you seeing the repair. Or think about listening to a song on an old radio, and there's some static. Your brain works hard to hear the notes and words, trying to make sense of the jumbled sound. It often fills in the parts that are unclear, making the song sound clearer in your head than it actually is coming out of the speakers. You're not imagining the song. Your brain is actively patching up the holes in the sound so you can enjoy it. This ability to fill in the missing parts isn't just a trick your brain plays. It's how your mind makes the world manageable. If you had to process every single tiny detail, your brain would be overloaded. So, it simplifies, it predicts, and it completes. It uses your past memories, your feelings, and even your hopes to shape what you experience right now. And that's why it matters when we talk about reality not being real. If so much of what you see, hear, and feel is actually filled in by your own mind, then how much of it is truly out there, and how much is in here? It makes you wonder if your reality is unique to you, a gentle dream created just for your mind. Perhaps the world isn't a fixed, solid thing, but something more fluid, shaped by the very act of you experiencing it. And maybe, just maybe, that thought can bring a soft quietness, letting you drift into sleep with the gentle mystery of what is real and what your mind creates. What if we're tiny specks on a giant? Have you ever looked at an ant crawling across the sidewalk? It's busy, carrying its tiny crumb, going about its day. Do you think that ant knows it's crawling on a giant creature? A human? It probably thinks the sidewalk is its whole world. Here's the thing. What if we're a lot like that ant? What if our entire world, everything we see, touch, and feel, is just a tiny part of something much, much bigger? This idea is pretty old. For a long time, thinkers and philosophers have wondered if our reality is just one layer in a stack of realities. Think about your own body. You're made of billions of tiny cells. Each cell has a job. It lives its life, takes in nutrients, gets rid of waste. Does a single cell in your heart know it's part of a human being named you? It just exists within its own little world, doing its part. This concept suggests we might be like those cells, living within something so vast we can't even imagine it. We are just tiny specks, part of a giant we can't perceive. So, here's how it works. Our universe, with all its stars and galaxies, might just be a small part of a larger being, or a larger system. Think about a video game. You play a character, right? That character lives in a digital world. It walks around, talks to other characters, solves problems. But that character doesn't know it's just code on a computer chip running inside a machine in your house. It doesn't know you're controlling it, or that there's a whole other world outside its screen. This is kind of like the idea of a simulation. Not like a game you play, but a super advanced computer program. What if our entire universe is just a very detailed simulation, created by beings far beyond our understanding? They might be watching us, or they might have simply set it running and moved on. We would never know the difference, because everything we experience feels completely real to us. Our brains are part of this simulation, so our thoughts and feelings are also part of it. This idea isn't meant to scare you. It's simply a way to open your mind to different possibilities. It means the universe might be even more mysterious and wonderful than we can currently imagine. People have thought about this for centuries. Ancient Greek philosophers, like Plato, thought about this too. He had this famous story, the allegory of the cave. In it, prisoners are chained in a cave, seeing only shadows on a wall. They think those shadows are real, never knowing there's a whole world of true objects and light outside. Our giant concept is a bit like that, but on an even bigger scale. We might be seeing only the shadows of a greater reality. But here's the thing. Even if we are tiny specks on a giant, or characters in a grand simulation, does it make your life less real? Does it make your friendships less important? Does it make the joy you feel, or the challenges you face, any less meaningful? Not at all. Your experiences, your emotions, your connections with others, they are still deeply real to you in this moment. The wonder of a sunset, the taste of your favorite food, the comfort of a good book, these things are still true. This thought isn't about finding an answer, because we might never know. It's about gently wondering. It's about seeing how vast and amazing the possibilities are. And it reminds us that even if we are tiny, our own small world, our own small life, is still full of deep meaning and beauty, right here, right now. It can make you feel both incredibly small and incredibly connected to something immeasurably vast. And that's a deep, quiet thought to carry with you as you drift to sleep. The feeling of being connected to everything. Have you ever looked up at the night sky, maybe on a clear, dark night, and felt incredibly small, but also, in a strange way, incredibly large? Like you were a tiny dot, but also somehow part of all those distant stars and galaxies? Or maybe you've stood by the ocean, watching the waves roll in, and felt a quiet, powerful pull, as if the water knew something you did too. This feeling, this sense that you are not separate from the world but deeply woven into its very fabric, is what we mean by being connected to everything. It's not some kind of magic spell or a trick of the mind. Instead, it's a deep awareness that everything is linked, Think of it like a giant invisible web. If you touch one part of the web, the whole web shivers. You are a single thread in that web. And so is the tree outside your window, and the birds singing in its branches, and the air you breathe. This idea isn't new. People have been thinking about this for thousands of years. Ancient wise people, in places like Greece, India, and China, often talked about how all things are one. They believed that humans, animals, plants, and even rocks were just different parts of a single, giant, living thing, like different organs in one big body. Native American traditions, and many other cultures around the world also share this understanding. They teach that we are all relatives. The earth is our mother, the sky our father, and every creature our brother or sister. It's a way of seeing the world that builds respect and a sense of belonging. Here's an example that might help you see it. Think about the air you just breathed in. Where did that oxygen come from? A lot of it came from plants, maybe even a forest far away, converting sunlight into air you can use. And when you breathe out, you release carbon dioxide. Guess what? Plants take that carbon dioxide and turn it back into oxygen for us. It's a constant, silent dance between you and the trees. You literally share breaths with the entire planet. Or consider water. The water you drink today might have fallen as rain on a mountain centuries ago, flowed into a river, then the ocean, evaporated into a cloud, and eventually, after traveling across continents, ended up in your glass. You are drinking history, and you are part of its journey. This shows us that we are not just separate beings living on the planet, but an active, breathing, flowing part of the planet itself. This feeling of being connected also shows up in how we feel about each other. When you see someone hurting, do you feel a little ache in your own heart? That's empathy. It's a quiet reminder that we are linked by more than just words. We share the same basic feelings, hopes, and fears. And when we really understand this, when we feel truly connected, it can be a wonderfully calm and peaceful feeling. It makes the world feel less lonely, less harsh. It's a gentle thought to hold on to as you settle down. That you are not alone, not isolated, but a small, perfect part of something vast and beautiful, quietly connected to everything that ever was and ever will be. It's a comfort, a gentle hum that reminds you that you belong. What if the rules of how things work changed? Have you ever stopped to think about how much you trust the world to work a certain way? Like, really trust it? Every single day, you expect an apple to fall to the ground if you drop it. You expect the sun to rise in the morning. You expect that when you turn on a light switch, the light will come on. These aren't just random events. They are part of the deep, unseen rules of our universe. We often call them the laws of physics, or just how things work. Here's the thing. We've built our whole understanding of reality on these rules. For thousands of years, people have watched the stars, dropped stones, and learned about fire. They noticed patterns. They saw that these patterns were consistent. Scientists, like Isaac Newton centuries ago, described gravity. They figured out how planets move and why things fall. It's like we started writing down the instruction manual for the universe based on what we observed. And that manual seems pretty steady. But what if these fundamental rules suddenly shifted? Not just a little change, but a really big one. Imagine waking up one morning, and the rule of gravity was different. Instead of pulling things down, maybe it pulled them sideways, or even pushed them up for a few minutes. You'd pour milk into your cereal bowl, and it would float towards the ceiling. Your school backpack might gently lift off the floor. Your brain would instantly know something was terribly, terribly wrong. It would scream, "This isn't real. This isn't how things are supposed to be. This isn't just about things being inconvenient. It's about our minds trying to make sense of a world that no longer plays by the rules it knows." Think about the rule of cause and effect. This means one thing always leads to another. You press a button, and the doorbell rings. The cause is pressing the button. The effect is the ring. Our brains are built to understand this. We rely on it for everything. Now, imagine if cause and effect suddenly got jumbled up. What if you saw a flash of lightning, and then heard the thunder, but then the lightning flashed again, before the first one even happened? Or you accidentally knocked over a glass of water, and it shattered before you even touched it, your mind would struggle to put those events in order. It would feel completely upside down, like the world was glitching, or like you were living inside a dream where nothing made sense. When these core rules break down, even for a moment, it feels like the very fabric of reality is tearing. It's unsettling. Our brains are designed to predict and understand the world around us. When those predictions fail in such a fundamental way, it challenges our deepest sense of what is real and what is not. We trust these rules so much, we don't even think about them. They are the quiet, constant background to our lives. So, as you drift off, consider this. How much of what we call real is simply our experience of these dependable rules? And if, in some impossible scenario, those rules could bend or even disappear for a moment, what would that tell us about the nature of reality itself? It's a deep thought, like exploring the very edge of what we think we know. Time travel. Just a different way of seeing? What if time wasn't like a river, always flowing past us, carrying us from one moment to the next? What if, instead, time was more like a giant, still painting, and we are just slowly moving our eyes across it? This is one of the deepest ideas about reality. It suggests that maybe the past, the present, and the future aren't things that happen in order. Maybe they all exist at the same time, always. And what we call time travel might just be about seeing different parts of that big picture. Think about a movie on a DVD or a streaming service. When you watch it, you see scene after scene, one after another. You experience the story unfolding in a specific order, from beginning to end. The characters have their adventures, make choices, and face outcomes. It feels like time is moving forward, right? But here's the thing. The entire movie, every single scene, every moment, is already there on the disc or in the cloud. It's all recorded. When you hit play, you're just experiencing it in a particular way. You can pause, rewind, fast forward. You're not changing the movie itself. You're just changing how you're looking at it. Some thinkers and scientists imagine our universe might be like that movie. They suggest that all of history, every event that ever happened, and every event that ever will happen, already exists in some grand, unchanging structure. Like a giant, four-dimensional block, where the fourth dimension is time. We, as humans, are simply moving through this block, experiencing one slice of it, one moment, at a time. So, if you could time travel, it wouldn't be about jumping into a moving river and pushing it backward or forward. It would be more like skipping around the chapters of that massive, already written book of existence. This way of looking at time is sometimes called block universe theory. It's a bit different from how we usually think, where time is something that passes or flows. In this view, time is more like space. Think about a map. You can point to New York City, then to Los Angeles. Both cities exist right now, at the same time, even if it takes you hours to travel between them. You don't make Los Angeles exist by traveling there. It's already there. In the same way, some people believe that yesterday and tomorrow are there in the universe, just like New York and Los Angeles are there on a map. Our experience of moving through time is just our particular way of seeing these different moments. It's a very deep thought. If all of time already exists, then everything that has happened and everything that will happen is already laid out. It doesn't mean we don't have choices or that life is without meaning. It just means our perspective might be limited. Maybe the future isn't something we're rushing towards, but rather a place we will simply arrive at, like turning a page in a book that's already complete. This idea can make us feel a bit small, or maybe it can make us feel incredibly connected to everything. It can change how we think about our regrets from the past or our worries about the future. If everything just is, then maybe the most important thing is how we choose to experience this one moment, right here, right now, as we gently turn the page. It makes us wonder if being in the present isn't just a good idea, but the only true way to understand this incredible story. This world as a book you're reading. Have you ever gotten totally lost in a really good book? You know, the kind where you forget everything else and just live inside the story. You feel what the characters feel. You want to know what happens next. You turn page after page, eager for more. But here's the thing about that book. The whole story is already written. The beginning, the middle, and the end are all there, sitting on those pages, even before you read them. Now, imagine this. What if our whole world, our lives, everything we see and feel and do, is actually like a giant book that's already been written? What if we are just the characters in that book, and we're slowly reading through our own story, page by page, moment by moment? This is a deep thought, a way of looking at reality that people have wondered about for a very long time. It means that every single thing that has happened to you, every choice you've made, every conversation you've had, and everything that will ever happen to you is already set. It's like it's printed on pages we haven't turned to yet. For us, it feels like the future is unknown, full of possibilities. We make choices, and those choices feel real and important. But if our world is a book, then those choices and their results are already part of the story that's waiting for us to experience. Think about your favorite movie. When you watch it, the characters go through all sorts of adventures. They learn, they grow, they face challenges. But for the movie itself, the entire plot, every line of dialogue, every camera angle, is already filmed and edited. It's a complete package. You just sit down and watch it unfold. Our lives could be like that movie, or that book. We are experiencing it in real time, but the whole script is already done. This idea can come from different places. Some ancient thinkers wondered if destiny or fate was real. They thought maybe everything was already decided by higher powers. Modern scientists sometimes talk about the universe in ways that sound a bit like this too. For example, some ideas in physics suggest that all moments in time, past, present, and future, might exist all at once. Kind of like how all the pages of a book exist together, even if you're only reading one page at a time. It's not that someone is literally writing our lives as we go. It's more about the idea that everything is already there, laid out, even if we can't see it all yet. So, if our world is truly like a book you're reading, then you are not just a reader, you are also a character. You are living out a story that has already been penned. This doesn't mean your feelings aren't real, or that your efforts don't matter. They do. They are part of the story. The joy, the sadness, the triumphs, the small, everyday moments, they are all scenes in this grand, unfolding narrative. Maybe, just maybe, this thought can bring a strange kind of calm. It's like knowing that whatever happens, it's all part of the story. And sometimes, understanding that you are just a character within a much larger tale can help you relax into the flow of life. Trusting that the story, whatever it holds, is meant to be experienced. It allows you to appreciate each page, each moment, as it comes. Do animals see a completely different world? Have you ever stopped to wonder what it's truly like to be your pet dog or the tiny bird outside your window? Not just what they do, but what their world actually looks and sounds and smells like to them? We often think we see the world as it really is. But what if our senses are only showing us one small part of it? Think of your senses, your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, as special tools. They pick up information from the world around you. Your eyes pick up light, your ears pick up sound vibrations. But here's the thing. These tools have limits. Your eyes can only see certain colors. Your ears can only hear certain sounds. What if other creatures have totally different tools? What if their senses are built in a way that lets them experience things we can't even imagine? For a long, long time, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers wondered if what we see and hear is truly the real world, or just our brain's way of understanding it. They imagined a cave where people only saw shadows, never the real objects outside. That's a bit like how different animals experience the world. Science now gives us clear proof that animals pick up signals and information that are completely invisible or silent to us. Take a dog, for example. When you walk your dog, you see trees, houses, other people. But your dog is experiencing a whole different world. Its nose is thousands of times more powerful than yours. It smells not just the grass, but the history of every other dog that walked there. Maybe even what that dog had for dinner or how it was feeling. A dog's world is a vast, detailed map of sense, like a library of invisible stories. and its ears can pick up sounds so high-pitched that they are completely silent to human ears. So, while you hear the car, your dog might be hearing a tiny mouse squeaking far away, or the high-frequency hum of electrical wires. Their reality is filled with smells and sounds we can't even begin to sense. Or, think about a bee. To us, a flower might look like a pretty yellow circle. But to a bee, that same flower might have brightly colored patterns pointing right to its sweet nectar, like a bullseye. That's because bees can see ultraviolet light, a type of light we can't see. It's like they have special glasses that reveal hidden messages on every petal. Their world is painted with colors and designs we will never see with our own eyes. And then there are bats. They fly in the dark, but they aren't blind. They see with sound. They send out high-pitched clicks, and then they listen to the echoes bouncing back. From these echoes, their brains create a detailed picture of everything around them, where a tiny insect is flying, or where a tree branch is. Their reality is built not from light, but from sound waves. It's a world made of echoes, a dark landscape shaped by sound that guides them perfectly. So, here's what this means for us. If a dog, a bee, and a bat experience such wildly different realities, built from different senses, then our own human reality is just one version. It's what our specific set of senses allows us to perceive. We see the rainbow in a certain way, but maybe there are colors beyond it we can't see. We hear sounds within a certain range, but maybe the world is humming with sounds we can't hear. This thought can be a bit calming, actually. It means the world around us is far more complex and wonderful than we usually imagine. Our reality is real for us, but it's not the only reality. It's like we're all listening to different songs on the same radio, but each radio only picks up certain notes. And that means there are countless other songs playing all around us, all the time, full of information and beauty that just isn't made for our ears or our eyes. It makes our own reality feel a little more like a dream, a special version chosen just for us, in a world full of endless possibilities. The little tricks your mind plays on itself. Have you ever looked up at the clouds and seen a clear shape, like a dragon or a car? And then, when you point it out to a friend, they see something totally different? Or maybe you've sworn someone said one thing, but they insist they said something else entirely. It happens to all of us. This isn't just about mistakes. It's about the amazing and sometimes strange ways our own minds work. Our brain isn't just a recording device. It's more like a storyteller, always trying to make sense of the world. And sometimes, it adds its own details or changes the plot a little. Here's the thing. Your brain doesn't just show you reality. It builds reality for you, piece by piece, based on what it expects, what it has learned, and what it thinks is important. Imagine a movie director who has to finish a scene, even if some of the actors didn't show up. The director will fill in the gaps, guess what should have happened, and make it flow. Your brain does something similar. It takes in bits of information from your senses, what you see, hear, touch, and then it fills in the blanks, connects the dots, and sometimes it even invents things to make the story complete. Thinkers for thousands of years have wondered about this. Way back in ancient Greece, a philosopher named Plato told a famous story called the allegory of the cave. He imagined people living in a cave, seeing only shadows on a wall. They thought the shadows were real, because that's all they had ever known. They didn't realize the true objects were behind them, casting those shadows. This story makes us wonder if our own reality, the one our brains show us, is just a set of shadows. It makes you think about how much of what we experience is truly out there, and how much is put together by our own minds. And our minds play lots of little tricks. One common one is seeing patterns where there aren't any. That's why you see faces in electrical outlets or animals in toast. Your brain is wired to find patterns, even random ones, because it helps us understand the world quickly. It's usually a helpful shortcut, but it can also make us believe we see something that isn't truly there. Another trick involves our memories. We often think our memories are like perfect video recordings, but they aren't. Every time you remember something, your brain actually reconstructs it. It's like putting together a puzzle, and sometimes it uses different pieces or even invents a few to make the picture complete. That's why details can change over time. or why two people who experience the same event might remember it differently. Maybe you remember a small detail about a school field trip, but your friend remembers something totally different happening around the same time. Both of you are experiencing your brain filling in the story. Then there's what's called confirmation bias. This is where your brain pays more attention to information that already matches what you believe, and tends to ignore information that doesn't. If you already believe something is true, your brain will actively look for evidence to support that belief, and it might even twist new facts to fit your existing ideas. It's like wearing special glasses that only highlight the things you expect to see. This makes your personal view of the world feel very solid, even if it's missing a lot of the full picture. So, here's what happens. Your mind isn't just a passive receiver of information. It's an active builder of your reality. These tricks aren't flaws. They're actually how your brain helps you navigate a super complex world every single day. It helps you make quick decisions, understand social cues, and feel like you have a consistent experience. But it also means that your personal version of reality, the one you live inside your head, is unique. It's shaped by your experiences, your beliefs, and the incredible, sometimes sneaky ways your mind chooses to show you the world. And that's why it matters. Understanding these little tricks can make us more curious about what we think we know. It can make us wonder, gently, if what we're seeing, hearing, or remembering is the whole story, or just the amazing story our mind is telling us right now. It shows us that our connection to what's real is deeply personal, and often much more flexible than we might think. It's a quiet wonder, realizing how much of your world is truly you. What if we're just ideas in someone else's head? Have you ever been completely lost in a really good book, or watching a movie where you forgot you were just sitting on the couch? The characters felt so real, didn't they? You cared about what happened to them. But here's the thing. Those characters, their whole world, only exist because someone imagined them. They are ideas, brought to life in a story. Now, take that thought a little further, and make it about us. What if our entire world, everything we see, hear, and feel, isn't really a solid outside place? What if it's all just happening inside a giant, thinking mind? This isn't a new idea. For hundreds of years, smart thinkers, philosophers, have wondered about this. They questioned if reality was less about physical stuff and more about ideas or thoughts. It's called idealism, but you don't need to remember the name. Just picture it this way. Everything is like a dream, but a dream so big and so real that everyone in it experiences it together. Think about a character in a video game you love. This character runs around, explores worlds, solves puzzles, and interacts with other characters. To that character, their world feels completely real. They have goals, obstacles, and moments of triumph. But for you, the player, you know that character only exists as code and images on a screen, inside your computer or console. Their whole existence is an idea, created by game developers and run by a powerful computer. So, here's a deep thought. What if we are like those game characters? What if our whole universe, with its stars and planets, its trees and oceans, and all of us living in it, is actually just part of a vast, complex program running inside a massive, powerful consciousness? Or maybe it's like an incredibly vivid dream being dreamt by a cosmic dreamer. This someone else's head wouldn't be a person like you or me. It would be something immense, something beyond our understanding, perhaps a universal mind, or a supreme consciousness. Our own minds are amazing. We can close our eyes and imagine entire worlds, detailed places, and people who feel real to us, even if they only exist inside our heads. We can create stories and characters that then feel real to others. If our small human minds can do that, what could a truly infinite mind create? Maybe our reality is its most incredible, ongoing creation. And that's why this idea can be peaceful to think about. If everything is an idea, then maybe there's a gentle connection between us and that larger consciousness. It means our experiences, our joys, our sadness, our very existence are not random. They are part of a grand design, a beautiful thought unfolding. We are, in a way, part of something much, much bigger. It's like being a single brushstroke in a masterpiece painting, or a single note in a vast, beautiful song. When you look at it this way, drifting off to sleep might feel like letting your own unique thought blend back into the quiet wonder of that immense, peaceful mind.